go. Okay, it looks like we are live on Facebook.
Yay, it worked.
Jeez.
Well, welcome to part 2 of the first half hour. Riveting content right now, everybody. I know, it's so good.
Yeah, sorry, trying to work in panic mode real quick.
Yeah.
To update things.
Pulling
another message.
Nice.
Okay, well, this is different. No intro this time because we already did that originally. All right, everyone, we apologize. We thought we were live on YouTube as normal. We were flowing along with the show, and luckily we didn't get too awful far into it, even though we got too far as for what I feel. But thankfully Luke looked, and we were not live on YouTube for some reason. So thanks to Be Live for whatever bug they inflicted to mess with the YouTube side of things.
Yeah.
I hate starting over, but we will. So we decided let's just jump back over here to the Facebook side of things and see if that works, and it looks like it is. So this week's episode is now live on Facebook again, but I will pull the video off and upload it to the YouTube channel to have it on there for you guys as well. So yeah, we do apologize for the delay. Hopefully you guys didn't give up on us. Hopefully, you guys will still hop in and interact with us here. So we still haven't heard from Steve, so I'll have to tell him if he asks. All right, so anyway, we'll quickly kind of start over and get back on where we were at with topics and get caught right back up. So welcome everyone to Kiss Beats Podcast 4K, the Crazy Kiss Countdown. You wanted the best. I am one of your hosts. You had to reload.
Yeah.
I'm one of your hosts. You like Lawson.
And now that it's 2021, I'm not sick anymore, so I don't even need these.
We got our first toss.
Again.
Jeez. Yeah. So again, Happy New Year to everyone. 2021 is not starting out so great. No.
Yeah.
When is this year be over? No. Hope you all had a great and safe Happy New Year. I know we did. We kind of each did our own things, made it a good deal. Hopefully you guys were all safe and had a good time as well. Same with Christmas, since we were away last week. Hope you all had a great Christmas. If you guys got any cool Christmas gifts, we'd love to see them. Tell us or show us any way you can.
Yeah.
We'd love to see it. So, of course, this week's album is The Mighty Creatures of the Night, one of my favorites. And, of course, yesterday we had the big Kiss 2020 Goodbye show. So we will definitely be getting into that. But first, we want to go ahead and catch up with our usual, the comments, and polls, updates, and all that good stuff. So we were just about done with this, and now we got to redo it. So let's we'll jump right into this, and then we'll get into the main stuff here.
Yes. So several comments on our last episode, the Elder episode. So thank you guys for the interaction. As you guys know, we always really enjoy seeing what everybody thinks and getting everybody's input. So we'll jump down these fairly quickly here. Our first comment is from Steve McGowan. And he says, you forgot to mention the cow mooing effects in the middle breakdown part of Mr. Blackwell.
I totally forgot about that.
Totally. I think he even pointed that out last time we did this episode.
Yeah, and he pointed it out like 10 minutes ago when we read that.
It's strange, yeah.
It's like deja vu, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we did this. It's strange. You know what? I should have. See, I failed a second time. I should have, right before I read that comment, been like, you know what we forgot to mention last week? It's the cow mooing part. Oh, Steve.
That's Steve. He got us again.
We also had a battery of comments from Chris Lyon, our good buddies in Kiss and Tail. Chris says, my true confession is this is the second favorite Kiss album of the 1980s, only behind Creatures of the Night.
Battery is hopefully a term that doesn't go with Chris very much.
Yeah, well, one would hope. One would hope. He also says, Victor must have just listened to Peter Criss' solo album because he is out cold. Yeah, it always puts him to sleep every time.
Yeah, that would probably be considered child abuse in some cases.
We haven't done the Gene solo album yet, so we're.
Oh. And of course, I kid. I like the Peter album.
Yes, of course, yeah, and the Gene album definitely. We haven't listened to Psycho Circus yet.
Or Asshole.
Yeah. Chris says Eli dropping a deuce, Bruce Springsteen style. Did you take a poop in the last episode?
I must have. I don't even remember, and usually I remember all my bowel movements. So I usually announce them to you guys.
Now you know.
Knowing's half the battle.
Yes. Chris says, I saw Kiss play the Elder songs on the TV show Fridays.
Yeah. I actually just sat and watched those again the other day myself. Shout Factory has the master copies on their YouTube channel, so perfect, great quality, and was cool to watch again because it's the closest thing we'll get to any Elder tour footage, if you want to even call it that, just live footage.
I remember being super excited when I saw that stuff on Kissology 2 for the first time, seeing them in those costumes, like moving around and doing stuff.
Steve just chimed in with their picks. Looks like he's not going to be able to join us after all this week. No worries there.
Yep, it happens.
Yep.
Plus, who wants to be on this episode?
Who wants to be lonely?
Let's see. Chris also says Dark Light top 5 Ace solo.
Agreed, totally.
Absolutely. He also gave us his ranks. He says the Elder overall rating 7.5, and he gave us his top 3, which were Dark Light, Under the Rose, and Odyssey. So we got that added in. There were a couple of changes to our rankings for the Elder from last week because of the extra input. We'll get to that when we finish the comment section.
Cool. Can't wait to find out.
Yeah, I bet you don't know what it is. Care to make any predictions?
I'm going to say it jumped to a 6.6. That's just off the wall. I don't know.
Yeah. You never know. It may be.
My spidey senses are tingling.
Oh no! You should probably go to the toilet or the doctor.
Yeah. That might mean a bowel movement's coming.
Yeah, dropping a deuce Bruce Springsteen style. Chris says the Elder best lyrics ever on a Kiss album due to other people writing the lyrics.
Chris, you're so harsh, man.
Ouch. The writer of Odyssey, Tony Powers, said in an interview that he wanted to write a song about time, past, present, and future, and he accomplished it. One of my favorite Kiss songs.
Totally agree. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Because the other thing, I think we responded in a comment about Tony Powers.
Yes.
I didn't want to jump ahead and get into that already.
Right, yeah. It's hard to remember the order of things.
I know, right?
Chris says Paul was trying to emulate John Travolta in the movie Staying Alive when he was an aerobic instructor.
Oh, Lord.
These guys. He also says Coke is a powerful thing, a quote from Ezra when talking about the Elder.
Okay, yeah.
Are you drinking a Pepsi at the moment?
Yes, I am. I'm a Pepsi man.
Yes.
The choice of a new generation.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know. Coke must have had something to do with that drum sound or something. But...
Let's hope, yeah. Anything other than it was just that bad. I mean, and then last thing he says, Mike Watts wants Luke to dress baby Victor as Vinnie Vincent. It's gonna happen at some point, I would imagine. We'll have to put him in the makeup of whatever his favorite is, which it'll probably be freaking Ace or something stupid. Hopefully it's Bruce. I'm gonna put him in Bruce makeup.
I just realized I gotta give you a copy of the lullaby renditions of Kiss songs.
Yeah, I remember us talking about that a while ago. Yes. We got a comment from Ronnie Parker. Ronnie says, I've always wondered, what if the Elder had the production of Creatures with Michael James Jackson? It would have been killer.
Ooh, yeah. Because again, we talked a lot about that drum sound, and if it had that creature sound to it, yeah, oh my god. Especially
Totally
the
different.
Oath with the double bass and everything. But again, kind of going back to that the Friday stuff, part of me almost thinks maybe it was just kind of the drums that Eric used at the same time, like because I felt like the mix on that even didn't sound that great on drum wise and everything. Um, I don't know. So I don't know. Was it the kind of heads he used, or the tuning, or the type of shells? Something just wasn't adding up, or maybe it was just the guy that mixed it.
Right, could have been
sound,
Bob Ezrin, or maybe the mics they used were nasty.
It's I don't know. It just kind of boggles my mind about that. But
right, and we were talking earlier about I wonder if he used multiple drum sets, because we know that like Escape from the Island was recorded at Ace's studio. We know that what eventually became Car Jam 1981. So did he record the whole album at Ace's studio, or were there multiple drum sets? Why does Car Jam 1981 sound so good on Revenge? It was from the same sessions. Is it really just updated equipment from the 90s as opposed to the 80s, or could they have sounded something like that on The Elder and Bob Ezrin just didn't mix it like that? Who knows?
It's almost like they just took the tape and took the time to make the drums sound that good on the Revenge side of things. When it came to Car Jam, and they probably could have done the exact same thing to an extent on Elder. I mean, I know the industry was a little different as far as how they were making drums sound versus what it does on Revenge, but it still could have sounded. I mean, because again, look at how the drums sound on Dynasty and Unmasked and everything. I mean, even the Higher Than Hell drums. Like I think I even said on the Elder episode, I almost prefer that sound over the sound of these drums, and it's kind of sad.
yeah, it's very weird. Ronnie says, I could see how the band would have gotten excited about a concept album. Well, maybe just Gene and Paul. If they had different costumes and didn't cut their hair, also the production of Creatures, it could have went the other way with success. He also says, hey, Eli, I met you at the 2018 Ace Expo. We were sitting in chairs where they had the line waiting for pics and autographs, and I told you I had seen your podcast before. We chatted more Kiss conversations. I think I had a Yankee hat on at the time. Also, I said I'm from Tennessee.
Yes, I absolutely remember you, man. That's really cool. I appreciate you checking it out still. Hopefully you keep on watching, and hopefully we can run into each other again at another expo. Let's hope we get an expo this year. And it was real cool talking to you. I do remember that. And matter of fact, I remember your buddy is Andy. That's usually always on the Kiss FAQ. So I remember him coming up and talking to you, and he was working at Julian's table that year. So yeah, really cool, man. We definitely appreciate it, and please keep coming back.
Absolutely. We've also got some comments from Robbie Stars. Robbie says, what weakens the album? Dialogue should have been between every song to give it more and better feel for a story and a better chance to turn it into a movie. The album would make more sense. Plus, I agree with Eli. The drums sound like cardboard boxes or even cheap Fisher-Price drum set used, except on The Oath. The additional drum overdubs by Schwartzberg were mostly on the Gene songs, adding extra cymbals and tom fills over Eric's.
Right.
Nice. That's so strange. I still can't imagine why, if they needed extra stuff, Bob Ezrin couldn't have been like, hey, Eric, come over here real quick.
That must be why, again, the Friday stuff, like you'll notice Eric kind of, he'll maybe miss like a cymbal hit where there's one on the album, or maybe maybe that's why. So
yeah, it's just not how he originally played it.
Right. And then just those little things where And again, why they, didn't say, Eric, come in and hit a cymbal, or, who knows? Like,
Yeah.
some of these guys, they sit there and, travel to the other side of the world while the rest of the band's in the studio finishing up stuff. So who knows? It could have been something like that. Who knows?
Hard to say. Yeah.
It's just weird.
Yeah, I guess maybe if Eric hadn't been such a horrible drummer, maybe he would have been able to play his own. That's what annoys me about it so much. Is like they had such a great drummer, and they were just like, "Yeah, let's use someone else."
If only they would have got Jamie, what's his name, before Fraley's Comet.
Oh God! Oh, I forgot about that guy. Oh man. Robbie also says, I love those bongos in Dark Light, played by no other than Kermit the Frog and Fonzie from Happy Days. The Happy Days episode where Fozzie joins Richie's band is epic.
I do not remember that. That is before my time, but sounds interesting.
Yes. Somebody needs to make a video of Kermit and Fonzie hitting some bongos to Dark Light. That would be great.
That would be, totally amazing.
Robbie says, true confession, Odyssey was also a cover song done by Tony Powers. The only Kiss studio albums where Kiss didn't do an actual cover song up to Creatures was Hotter Than Hell, Dressed to Kill, and Rock and Roll Over. Even 3 of the 478 solo albums have cover tunes.
If you want to be a real stickler, you could say that, like say Love Her All I Can is a Wicked Lester cover. If you want to be if you want to be a real stickler about those songs, but
that guy, yeah. And it's such a weird slippery slope when you let someone else write a song, because I had thought the same thing. I read somewhere that Odyssey was a cover song that was originally done by Tony Powers, and I had even put that in my notes during that episode, that I was disappointed that they did a cover on their concept album. But then on Wikipedia, not only does it say it doesn't say anything about it being a cover song, but it goes out of its way to imply that Tony Powers wrote the song for Kiss for this album. So I took that out of my notes because I wasn't sure, is Wikipedia incorrect or something just got crossed. They consider it a cover even though Tony Powers never recorded it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I think it was that same day when I found that out, I jumped on Discogs and looked at his discography, and every album that they had listed that he did, I did not see that song title on anything. So again, whether it was under a different title for some reason, but I think it's more along, I agree with what you said. I think he just specifically wrote it for them. I don't know, like maybe there's a song or something that he did that Gene or Paul or somebody was a big fan of, and they said, hey man, we got to get this guy to write a song. It could have been one of those kind of things,
right?
They just love his songwriting style or something, but he sure knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, it's still, I just wish that they hadn't, or at least that they had helped. I wouldn't feel bad about it if it were, Simmons Stanley Powers or Stanley Powers Simmons Powers.
Stanley Powers.
Stanley Powers. That should have been his name. It's just weird that they straight up let someone else write a song for their album, and then they were like, yeah. We'll play that. Weird. Robbie also gave us his rankings for The Elder, his full rankings, which is awesome. His top 3 were Dark Light, The Oath, and Under the Rose.
Cool.
Robbie says, I always liked The Elder, but definitely an odd, different album. I'd rank this in the middle of the pack of Kiss albums. My ranking is a 7. Great episode.
Thank you, man.
Yes, very much. Last comment we got is from Thomas, Rain in Adamstown. And Thomas says, all is good with the baby. That is great. Congratulations. Thank you. Very much appreciated. He is great and fat and never sleeps in the night. But he is good. He says, The Elder is still and will be forever a perfect 10 for me. He gave us his top 3, which are The Oath, Under the Rose, and Only You. He says, yesterday while I was listening to Almost Human, I realized that the drums behind the Dark Light solo are a lot like the Almost Human drums. The older you get, the more you see that The Elder is the summary of Kiss music. I have a wonderful scene before my eyes. I'm in a gigantic medieval cathedral. Kiss plays the song Under the Rose, and the hundreds of people are one gigantic choir. I wish you a Merry Christmas.
That's really cool, man. almost like what they did with Great Expectations or something on
Yeah.
Alive 4, but an even bigger, concept. That would have been cool, man.
Absolutely.
And yeah, hope you had a great holiday too, man. Appreciate it.
Very much so. There was also a short conversation on that comment between Thomas and Robbie where they were talking about Almost Human and Mr. Blackwell being kind of similar. And Robbie even mentioned Almost Human could have been on The Elder, which would have been very interesting. Hey, there's that.
Well, look who it is.
Oh, no. Oh, Chris. Oh, boy.
Oh, man.
It got real.
Turkey sounds good right now.
Straight up, yeah. My sleep schedule is all screwed up because of the baby, and I haven't eaten yet today, so like everything sounds good. I'm totally into everything. Okay, so now that we've got comments done for the second time, we'll jump over to the polls for the second time. So you guys know what time it is. It's time for our weekly and sometimes daily second PSA about our Every Kiss Song tournament. Since we're over here on Facebook already, then you shouldn't even have to leave this tab to go check out our Facebook page, Kiss Meets the Podcast. Because YouTube is stupid and we hate it and we're never going back. So you heard it here first. No, you can check out Kiss Meets the Podcast, the Facebook page. Please go like. We are, as I understand from an unreliable source, that we are very close to 300 likes. Couldn't tell you where I heard that.
Must be the same person that thought they played Shock Me yesterday. Anyway.
Yes. So check out our Facebook page, and also you can search for Kiss Meets the Podcast group, which is our private group here on Facebook, where we are currently conducting a poll, a huge tournament where we put every single Studio Kiss song head-to-head to determine what, with all of our votes, us and you, is the #1 Kiss song. That tournament is getting down to the final stages. So please search our group. You do have to request access, but we accept everybody. So get in there and we will accept you. And then you can vote here on our polls. We are currently getting ready to start round 6. And we're getting real close to the end. So get in there.
Yes, and please bear with us if it does take a few days to get you approved. Because apparently Facebook doesn't like to give us notifications that we have requests. But I generally try to check on days of the show. So I do want to give a shout out to, because I approved about 4 or 5 requests earlier today. So I do want to give those guys a shout out and thanks for supporting us, and please keep it going. But a bird told me that on our regular podcast page, we are 1 away from 100 likes, and then, or did I get that backwards? It's the group, I believe.
Almost 100 members, yeah.
Yeah. So on the group page, we're 1 away from 100 members, and then the regular podcast page, we're 1 away from 300 likes. So I just figured, hey, it's the first day of the new year. I'd like to set a goal of maybe getting 500 likes on the page by the end of the year. Hey, if we can get somewhere around 200 or so on the group page, that would be cool too. I mean, obviously more the better, but that just seems like a realistic goal. So, please keep, spreading the word. We definitely appreciate you guys. And, as bad as 2020 was, there were some good things that came out of it. We made a lot of good friends, like this knucklehead over here, Chris, and Carolina Metalhead, but all you guys. And, we appreciate you guys that interact and, leave your comments and send us all your rankings and everything. It's what makes this show fun to do, and definitely, keeps the wheel turning. So
absolutely.
Definitely.
I've just come up with an ingenious scam to get more likes as well, and we can get Kiss and Tail and also Carolina Metalhead in on this and get us all some more likes. Nothing gets people's attention better than a huge scandal. So I think what we should do is the 3 of us podcasts should get in a huge, very public, very bad fight and just make it absolutely horrible. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And then we'll all get a bunch more likes and it'll be great.
That's a great idea. And then it could lead up to a big main event match at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Like a 3-way match or something.
Yes.
Aaron Philpott, what's up, man? See,
How's it
that's
going?
one of the perks about being here on Facebook. We get to see some names that we don't see all the time on YouTube. So, what's up, man? Happy New Year to you, brother. Hope it's a great year for you as well.
Yes, absolutely. See what you did there with your comment. That's awesome. Stone Cold Killer.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so on the polls, we have just wrapped up round 5. The matches are getting smaller and smaller. It's crazy. So what we just did was the last 4 matches of round 5. Those were Come On and Love Me versus Sure Know Something. And Come On and Love Me takes that with 59%.
All right. I like that.
Yeah. We had Love Gun versus Going Blind. Love Gun takes it with 66%.
Yeah.
We had King of the Nighttime World versus Shock Me. Yeah. Shock Me takes it with 61%. Crazy. And then finally we had God of Thunder versus Rocket Ride. Both of these actually had gotten back in from they were both second chance votes that got put back in. And this time God of Thunder takes it with 57%.
Yeah, that one's a little tough. I kind of would have went the other way myself.
Same.
But and then at the same time, I'm kind of surprised that a song like God of Thunder was even in that point where it had to get voted back in. Like,
yeah,
I figured that one would have pretty much stayed, at least to the top 10 or whatever.
Right. So yep, Rocket Ride is back out, so it won't be getting back in. It won't show back up in a second chance.
Well, Ace is still in the running, though.
Yes, very much so. Speaking of second chance, that is what we have done this week. So what you can go in and vote on right now is our round 5 second chance round, which is we're going to do that before we get into round 6. And what that is we take the top voted songs that have been voted out, the top 6, and we pit those head to head, all 6 of them in one. You can only vote on one of the 6 songs, and whichever one gets the most votes gets back into the running for round 6. That is what we have posted currently. Next week, we are actually going to be posting round 6 in its entirety. It's only 5 matches long because that's how close to the end we're getting. If you're late coming to this, or if you really love these tournaments, fear not that this is getting close to the end. We have more plans for more tournaments. So just when this one ends, that doesn't mean the whole thing is going to be over. So we very much appreciate everybody's votes. So what you can vote on right now are the following 6 songs: 100,000 Years, Strutter, A Million to One, Let Me Go Rock and Roll, Hate, and Who Wants to Be Lonely. And you can pick one of those 6 to get back into round 6.
Yeah, I personally voted for 100,000 Years. Last check, I was the only one that voted for it at the time. So who knows?
Right. I would guess that either 100,000 or Strutter will be what makes it. Now, I threw in with A Million to One just because I know Savannah's been trying to get that one back in. But, I feel like it'll be one of those.
And then, again, with the polls on the Twitter side of things, I know we had discussed that here and there. I think at this point, we kind of discussed yesterday that since this part of the contest is starting to get down to the end, we're just going to probably wait until the next contest gets announced, which is probably more than likely live songs, but we'll announce that for sure once we know. But we just kind of figured, we'll just hold off and get the Twitter thing going for that one. That way we can start right at the beginning, and hopefully that'll help draw in some more votes and everything. So again, we haven't forgot. Apologies for the delay, but we just figured might as well just hold off now since we're so close to the end of this one.
Right. Yep. Okay. Yeah, I think we're ready for album info.
Okay.
We're in uncharted territory now. I don't know what to talk about.
I know. Like, wait a minute. Well, actually, let's before we get into the album, let's discuss the show from yesterday.
Yeah.
So obviously, yesterday was the Kiss 2020 Goodbye live concert from Dubai. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of mixed comments and reviews regarding this as we talk, but hey, everyone's entitled to their opinion. So if you watched it, let us know what you thought. So definitely ordered it, and Luke actually came over here to the house, so we sat here together and huddled up under a blanket eating ice cream and talking about guys. And
yeah, it's weird. I don't remember how I got home. Is like
yeah, he somehow got knocked out on the couch. I don't know what happened.
couldn't imagine. I'm
He
still
drank
sitting
something,
funny.
and next thing you knew, he was gone. I don't know. Don't look at me.
Yeah, couldn't imagine. Couldn't imagine.
um, so yeah, it was cool. You know, what kind of surprisingly, you know, we got that what ended up being pretty much an hour long short documentary about, you know, the whole kind of the making of the show, and you know, they talked about the process of building the stage. You know, it took them 4 weeks to build, and you know, everything from that to discussing how they were managing, you know, with all this COVID, and you know, with their, you know, precautions that they were taking, and you know, they were. It sounded like it was a pretty well-oiled machine that ran, you know, the way they were running everything, and constant testing of everybody, and using color-coded bracelets and things like that to kind of know, you know, who's who and what, you know, section or whatever. You know, then of course we had, you know, clips of, you know, Gene kind of discussing his time, and Paul, and you know, we didn't really get much of that from Eric or Tommy, but mostly Gene and Paul kind of discussing their visit there and how much they were impressed already. And I know Paul especially said he is already planning on taking a trip back over there with his family to visit. So pretty cool. You know, we wasn't sure if we were going to get any kind of pre-show or how long it was going to be, but yeah, it turned out to be almost an hour. And but then it got kind of weird because all of a sudden there was a point where they were showing this one girl talking, and I totally forget the topic at the time because the way it just kind of changed. Because all of a sudden the screen kind of froze, and next thing you knew, it jumped right in, and they're already into Detroit Rock City, kind of like halfway down, you know, on the pods, and you know, so we missed the entire, you know, intro and the "You Wanted the Best" and all that stuff, which, you know, kind of a bummer because that's always such a cool part of the show, and you know, it gives me chills every time I see and hear it. But so that was a little bit of a hiccup there to start the show, but so you take over now and kind of continue, and we'll just kind of jump back and forth and hit some topics.
Right. Yeah. You know, I do kind of wish they had saved the documentary for afterwards, just for that focus on the show. It would have been cool to have the, you know, like building the tension on it with a countdown and then the all right, and I would have
That's
way
what I
rather had.
expected. So I figured as
Yeah.
soon as that countdown dropped, bam, it was just going to go right to live and the hum and all that.
Right.
And you know, they showed that commercial, and I figured, okay, yeah, that makes sense. They'll show this little commercial one last time, uh, and then and then sure enough, you know, the Kiss YouTube channel uploaded that entire documentary like immediately anyway, so it was on there. So not
Right.
to cut you off, I just chiming in there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it was really interesting. Although I have to say that one of the things that it was just a weird, maybe it's just me, but it annoyed me honestly how much they talked about COVID. I was
Mm.
like, man, this is supposed to be an escape from this. I don't want to have to keep thinking about all the things that are wrong with the world. If the show is happening, I assume it was a well-oiled machine. I assume everything was okay, and I assume you guys took the proper precautions. I don't care what you did. Just get to the music, you know.
Yeah.
And Paul even said something about it on stage. He preached about the vaccine, and I'm like, isn't this supposed to be an escape from all the crap that's going on? It's just supposed to be the music. Shut up about the stupid virus. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I will say, other than that one little part where Paul did say something that I totally didn't think about that stuff as soon as the music started. You know, all that stuff that they were talking about 10 minutes before on that video, I totally forgot as soon as that music hit. I'm like, you know, in a Kiss show, but
Right. Right. Yeah. It's just I assume they just don't have anything else to talk about since that's what's going on right now. You know,
yeah,
and of course there are people that they have to stick their nose in everything, and they want to see what's being done. Every time Paul has posted from rehearsals and stuff, he's had to make sure everybody knows they're all getting tested and they're staying apart. Just to, I assume combat off the comments of people being like, "Oh, I hope you guys are
Yeah, because
can't you just assume they're intelligent enough to do it without you reminding them?"
well, of course, and I'm sure that's a big reason they did that. Unfortunately, is because there probably would have been that first reporter trying to get any tiny little bit of juice that they could have got to turn it into some big thing about how you know unsafe, and how everyone's running around without masks, and acting careless. That's probably the story someone would have tried to paint. But
Right.
I mean,
I loved every other aspect of that, seeing the stage built and them talking about why they did it in Dubai and how they took the US end of the road set and the UK end of the road set and combined them into one big thing. And they were showing us the insides of the trailers and how they were going to mix the show and transmit the show. And just, I feel like they could have expanded on that a little bit more and
yeah.
talked less about the depressing crap that's going on.
And I mean, we were sitting there getting impressed by just some of the weirdest, like the one trailer where they just had all that, whatever, I forget what all those things were with all the wires, but they had a whole
Yeah.
separate AC air conditioning unit in this building just to keep that stuff cool, so it didn't overheat and everything. And just details like that you don't think of when it comes to these kind of shows, and
Right.
everything that goes into it. And they, and I don't mean to keep getting on the corona thing, but Gene specifically even said that they would go into each of their hotel rooms and sanitize them down each day. Like they had a little team of people that did that. And
Right.
because obviously if a member of the band went down, which is what they said on here, if one of the members of the band went down, that's when the whole show would have been off. If anyone else on the entire crew or whoever would have went down, it wouldn't have put a knife in the show. But obviously if it had been one of the members of the band, the whole thing would have fell apart.
Right. Right. They had a lot of really good things to say about Dubai too, and that was kind of neat how they were all talking about how they hadn't really spent any time in that area of the world and how impressed they were. Gene even mentioned that he wouldn't mind living there, which
Yeah.
is, rather interesting that he would bring that up.
It just looks like the kind of place that Gene would live. It's just, I mean, we were saying ourselves how impressive that place looks. It just looks so nice and clean, and just very ahead of its time, like ahead of America, as far as the structures and all that stuff. It just
Right.
it looks like it's a place that you would imagine when you think of the year 2021. The way that looks, like, not a lot of the stuff here in America still seems kind of dated to an
Right.
extent.
Yeah, we were talking about anybody that was getting interviewed outside, and you could see the cityscape in the background. It looked like a CGI, like they had been on a green screen, and they just slapped that because that's how crazy and cool it looked.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess kind of set list and show points now. So yeah, basically when it came down to it, we pretty much did get the same set list that they had been doing for the end of the road tour. However, we did get the one little bonus of Strutter, which they kind of threw in towards the end because they had some extra time. So that was kind of cool. But obviously, so they opened up with Detroit, and pretty much the usual stuff. And but there were some cool things that, at least to me, it seemed like they had changed little things here and there on the structure of songs, like some of the intros, like say Tears Are Falling, instead of doing that whole like acapella intro, and they just kind of counted it off and went straight into it. And it seemed like there was a few little different things like that we were like, whoa, that was different, that was cool. And even the little geeky things, like Paul announcing Deuce. Like, they never announce the song Deuce, they just go into it, like Paul announcing this song is called Deuce. And I think he did that with Black Diamond also. And
Yeah.
it's like, whoa, he's never done that before.
Yeah.
What else?
Well, we were commenting on Eric's drumming a bit too, which I remember. I think we talked a bit about this when we actually saw them live earlier in 2019. That he's starting to get a little bit back towards the way he did stuff in Alive 3. He's getting fancier with it, and it makes you wonder if is he getting bored playing them the same old way, or is this some kind of late response to the people accusing him of playing the stuff like Peter played them? Because he's definitely fancying stuff up.
Oh yeah, yeah. He was throwing in some little flares there on certain songs, and just his solo. I thought his solo sounded better than the one he did at the show we were at. 'Cause I'm pretty positive he was doing some different stuff on this solo than what he did, when we saw him last.
Right. Might as
And
well change it up. I mean,
yeah, yeah. I think the kick drum was kind of the main thing I was having a little gripe with when it came to the drum sound again. Is there's not enough of that punch to it. I felt like it should have. Now the toms and things, I thought they sounded pretty good. Over the live stream, and especially using that concert tom setup that he's been using now with this tour and everything. I thought that did sound good.
yeah. Oh,
Uh,
and the little Rush logo on his bass drums.
yeah, we noticed he had the Starman, and then someone else pointed out, which I missed, but on his snare drum he had written 2112 on in a Sharpie, and and I was mentioning to Luke, I was like, well, I knew Eric's drum tech was the same guy that drum tech for Neil, so I'm pretty sure it was the same guy that was still with him at this show yesterday. Because there was a few times you can kind of see him and got a quick glance of him, and I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's him. And so yeah, really cool that Eric did that little nod to Neil there. That was super cool.
Yeah. We were trying to decide if there was something else on his bass drum too. Did any of you guys maybe catch that? We couldn't. There was the Kiss logo, and then there was the 2112 bit, and then it looked like there was something else on the other side too, but we never got a clear enough glance to tell what it was.
I think after I saw something posted, I believe it had something to do with Kobe Bryant.
Interesting.
Because I think someone started a conversation about that over on the Three Sides, and actually Mark Cicchini said that he bought those stickers for Eric and delivered them to Eric in Fort Wayne at that
Wow.
show. So I'm pretty sure he said that one was like a Kobe Bryant sticker or something. So I guess
Very interesting.
that explains that, I guess.
Right.
What was I gonna say? Oh, I was gonna say, speaking of Neil, it's crazy to believe that now that we're in January, it's almost a freaking year since Neil passed already.
Wow.
Ugh, crazy.
Insane.
But well, let's see. We could talk about some of the obvious changes that they had to do to a few of the songs. Totally wasn't thinking about this with being over in Dubai. They have their rules and regulations because not only did Paul never take his shirt off because they have that decency rule or whatever you want to call it. And so in 100,000 Years, they changed up one of the lyrics where it's usually, sorry to have taken so long, must have been a bitch while I was gone. Changed it to trip while I was gone. And then also God of Thunder, surprisingly. Well, the first big surprise in God of Thunder was the fact that Gene did not even spit blood.
Right.
Because, we're sitting there and he's doing his thing like he normally does at the beginning of the solo. And all of a sudden he's sticking his tongue out. And I'm like, wait a minute, where's the blood?
Yeah.
And so then they go into the song. And again, I liked how they kind of changed up. They didn't do that little like drum intro to the song. They just kind of went right into like, bam, bam, bam. That was cool. And then, so then Gene also had to change a lyric in God of Thunder. So instead of rob you of your virgin soul, we're still not 100% on this because it was kind of hard to hear, but he said something about, what was it?
It was sacred something. I've seen other people saying that he said sacred soul. Other people guessed that he said sacred gold.
Yeah.
And then there was, it was instead of saying I was raised by the demons, he said I was born with a fever.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And someone did say, which I'll have to go back and watch, but I guess at the end of 100,000 years, which I'm assuming is after the like the solo part where that breakdown, like I guess Paul forgot and actually did say bitch instead of trip again.
Oh, really?
So I don't remember. I'm gonna have to watch that back and see if I can catch that.
Yeah. Yeah, I read an article from, I think it was Variety.com, that mentioned all the changes, except the "I was born with a fever" bit they jumped over. But
Yeah,
apparently, specifically in Dubai, uh, it's all that is laws, to a point that saying the F word is actually an arrestable offense.
yeah. I guess you can actually be jailed for up to a year for cursing,
That's insane.
and I guess that's why they didn't say those certain words and whatnot. But again, we were kind of chuckling because it's like, they changed that stuff, but yet they didn't have to change anything for "Lick It Up" or "Love Gun," and
Right.
and it's like,
All the genes on the screen during God of Thunder still had the blood all over their.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Man, other than that, gee, what else? We had a couple of those cool little kind of moments that never, that doesn't happen every show. It wasn't one of those like you see this every show, like, when it started getting towards the end after, I believe it was after Beth, um, they had a guy there from the Guinness Book of World Records come out on stage and, announced that Kiss had essentially broken at least like 3 records.
They were attempting to. We know they've broken 2 of those 3.
Right. And so, little things like that are kind of cool because it's like, oh, you don't see that at every Kiss show, stuff like that happening. And, it just kind of breaks up that sort of monotony, if you will, of the show. Like, what's coming next. And,
Right. I thought it was kind of funny how Paul cut him off at
yeah,
the end, and they had him ushered off real quick.
yeah, because all of a sudden the clock pops up and it's already down to like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, so they hurried up and started Rock and Roll All Night, and bam,
Yeah.
count, because they didn't even have a chance to mention like, hey, it's almost 2021, the countdown like they did back on 2000 or whatever.
Right. Literally mid sentence, the guy is saying something, and Paul goes, "Thank you, Guinness."
Yeah, because he's like, crap, we gotta hurry up. So a few little miscue things, but again, they did have a little extra time before that happened, so I can't remember. It might have been after Strutter or something, but they had a little extra time, and it was like, well, here's something we haven't even practiced. And I think Gene kind of was the one that threw it out. She can kind of, let's do Strutter. And they're waiting, Paul's kind of like calling it out, and he's waiting on Eric, and he's kind of looking at Eric, and you hear Eric like, I gotta put my shoes back on.
Yeah, and he goes, "Oh, of course you do."
Yeah. And then they finally went into it, but yeah, I was glad to see, because when I first started seeing the photos of what the stage looked like, and even like some of the sound check stuff, I didn't think that they had set up a B stage for Paul, and I was thinking, oh, they're probably not going to do that aspect of the show. Maybe it's something because of all the COVID as a weird precaution. But thankfully, I was wrong. And then once we saw, I believe it was during the documentary video, there was a shot where I'm like, oh, there is a B stage there, because they actually showed some fans, that were on it and everything. And it was what I was picturing. I was like, oh, it'd be cool if he flew over that water there that was in front, and then the B stage, and that's basically what happened.
Yeah.
Did it of course for Black Diamond, and then pretty much all of I Was Made for Loving You. Flew back, pretty much after or during like the solo part, basically, I believe it was.
Yeah, which is just like when we saw him, only it didn't malfunction.
Yeah. And he didn't fall in the water. We were placing bets like, what if he falls in the water?
Suppose he can swim in them boots. Yeah, that was definitely interesting.
But so before I jump to the end of the show, the different guitars that they were playing, that was a weird sight. Like, there was one point where Gene, Paul, and Tommy were all playing different types of guitars that you're not used to them seeing. Most notably, Gene playing a freaking Gibson Thunderbird bass.
Yeah.
which is the style, Nikki Sixx. For those that may not be familiar with those type of basses, that's basically the style Nikki Sixx is known to play. But Luke did some research right there, and apparently Gene had used one back as far as like the Love Gun tour, even. So we were like,
right.
That was kind of weird to see. And Paul had pulled out his new guitar that he had showed some photos of, and Tommy was playing his Flying V, and yeah, it was a really good show. And then of course the end with the pyro, your normal rock and roll all night, but it was just like turned up to 100 on the pyro. I mean, it was amazing. I remember during the pre-show they said something about a normal Kiss show they usually use about 100 liters of fuel for the pyro, and they said for this one it was like 2,000 liters, and I believe it now after seeing the very end.
Yeah.
War Machine was amazing because all the fire display that they were doing on War Machine, the way it was going throughout the whole thing, that was a very cool sight. But the Rock and Roll All Night thing, especially once they ended the song and the fireworks just kept going, and I mean, the fireworks went on for, it felt like almost 5 minutes after Kiss even left the stage.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was just massive. Like, if you guys haven't seen it, there's definitely video of it on YouTube now. Like, I actually ran across the video earlier of someone that was staying in that hotel, and they were filming it from their hotel room. And I ended up sitting there watching the whole thing again because I was just so impressed by the fireworks that it was just the video of that firework thing at the end, but I sat through the whole thing again because I'm just like, oh my God, it was so impressive. And
insane, yeah.
And seeing it from that different point of view too was very cool. And yeah, it was something, man. It was good. It had been close to a year, if not just over a year, since the last time Kiss had played, and it was just good. Like, I know people are gonna have their nitpicks, and whether it's mean things or just constructive type things to say. Yeah, it's gonna happen. It happens every time they play a show. But again, when it comes down to it, I'm just glad Kiss is there. I've always said no matter what lineup, I'm glad to have Kiss either way. And it was just cool to be able to sit and watch Kiss, and especially in a live setting. It wasn't a pre-taped show or anything like that. It was truly live because, yeah, there were little glitches that would happen here and there, and things like the little miscues that happened. It made it kind of fun in a way, and it was just good. And like, at least for me, like I said, it took my mind off all the crap, and just sat there and enjoyed it, and thought it sounded great. I hope they eventually release the Blu-ray and everything officially, throughout the masses, not just the people that ordered, the specific package. I'd like to I wouldn't mind if they even put it out as a live album. I could see that happening. I wouldn't mind that. I would definitely pick it up.
Yeah, I think I would buy it if it were Blu-ray. I think it's a nice representation of this era. But yeah, I have to admit that I was slightly disappointed, I think, overall, just because it was the same old thing. You know what I mean? They made it out like it was going to be this special occasion, the biggest show they've ever played, they kept saying. And then not only was it the same old set list, but the changes, it's not like they were a big deal, but it was weird to me that they didn't just pick somewhere else to do this concert that didn't. They've been doing this for 40 years, and how many songs has Gene written about how nobody tells him what to do and he's going to live his life the way he wants? And then for some reason they were like, oh yeah, no, we'll just, all that stuff we've been singing for 40 years, not important. This gag that we've been doing since almost the beginning, the blood, not important. It was weird. Key elements of the show were kind of missing, and then yeah, and I don't want to give everybody the wrong impression. I'm not sorry I watched it. I didn't hate it, and I don't want it to seem like it was overall negative, but I was just hoping it was going to be a little bit more out of the ordinary, something a little bit more special.
Yeah. I mean, we said that from day one when we found out the announcement. We said, yeah, we got a feeling it's going to be that same set list, but we were hoping that there was that chance that they'd at least treat it kind of like the cruise and treat it like that all the diehards are going to be the ones ordering this thing and throw in more surprises. But, and, Strutter, like, I don't know how long it's been since they've played that. So, I mean, yeah, that was kind of a bonus. And,
Right.
and it had been so long, it's been so long since we had seen them that I forgot that they did. I forgot that they even did Cold Gin because I was thinking, oh man, like I don't feel like they did Cold Gin when we saw them last time, but they did. I just don't remember. And yeah, so little things like that. It was kind of cool. They did Tears Are Falling, and I thought that sounded better than what they were doing, like without that whole acapella intro, personally. But
Yeah, it was a little
um,
neater like that. I'm
yeah,
I'm looking forward now more to the live. If I'm assuming they rescheduled the Nutter Center show
yeah,
because for this particular era, I preferred actually seeing them live to this. But if this is the only way that they can perform, then I'm glad they did something.
yeah. There's no doubt that seeing it in person is definitely a whole different animal from watching it on TV.
Right.
Just the vibe and the energy and the
I
feeling,
mean, and honestly, Paul's voice. Now, I think Paul's voice sounded better than it has recently on that. But yeah, if I'm gonna slap in a DVD and watch a Kiss concert, I could put in something from the '70s or the '80s and not
and
worry
that's what
about Paul sounding weird.
right, and that's what Paul always says. If you want me to sound the way I did back then watch something from back then.
Right.
But I think he did sound better because I think since he had been doing a lot of this work with Soul Station lately, I think he had kind of helped him and with his voice. Like I think he might have learned a few extra techniques because you could tell he wasn't quite pushing as hard on a lot of stuff as he was. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, there was a couple times that I think, okay, that kind of sounds like a backing track, but then this doesn't or that doesn't. A lot of it didn't to me. Um, but again, who knows? I don't care. I mean, people go see a video image of Elvis up on a screen with a band playing in front of it, and they're fine with that. So at least we got the real guy out there doing what he can do. Yeah, it doesn't sound like he used to, but he's still up there doing it. It's not watching a image of the person on a video or a hologram or
Yeah.
something. So
Other than the technology being cool, I don't get that.
yeah,
But yeah, I guess my point is, if I'm gonna hear his voice the way it is now, I'd rather really hear it
yeah.
rather than just watching it on the TV.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, well, as of right now, the Nutter Center date is scheduled for September 2nd. Yeah, it's a long
Nice.
ways off, but it'll be here. I can't wait. And actually, when I was looking at all the tour dates right now, there's not a whole hell of a lot of American dates that are on here right now.
Wow.
Because after October 6th, they're back overseas. So they don't even hit America until August 18th. So you got from August 18th and then October 6th, they're right back overseas after that. So I mean,
Wow.
there's not that many American dates right now.
Well, I'm glad we got one of them right here next to us then. Wow.
Absolutely. And I was looking at it earlier and I am thinking about trying my damnedest to somehow do one of those VIP packages
Oh man.
to do the meet and greet, because they even have the thing where you can do like the payment plans. So I thought about looking into that. I mean, because if this is going to be the last time, like I said, man, I've always wanted to meet them in the makeup, let alone meeting Paul. And what better way to do it than do it big on the last time or something.
Right. I don't know if I physically could, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
The level of social anxiety, the most likely result if I were to really meet them is I would carry that memory for the rest of my life as a negative memory, because I would think I was such an idiot. I didn't say enough, or I shouldn't have said that, or gee, yeah.
I'll
I
give you one.
remember how
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I remember how I felt at the expo where I saw Paul, and I wasn't prepared for that level of starstruck just from him walking in the room, and I wasn't anywhere near him. And then when he was doing the Q&A and they put a mic in my face, you want to say something to Mr. Stanley? No, I don't. And they moved on. I'm not sure I want to meet them. Like, of course I would. That would be awesome. But I don't know that I would comport myself appropriately if I did.
I get that way at all the expos. Like, I don't care who the guest is. Like, I'll kind of get this little question or two in my head, and I just can't ever get the gumption to do it. I don't know why. It's just
yeah.
I'll give you one of my anxiety pills to take. That'll help
you. You're right.
If I was able to get on a plane and fly, being on them things, then it's a miracle. And because I could still tell my anxiety was up when I got on that first flight. But if it wasn't for that pill, there would have been no way I could have survived that. Oh, man. So, where are we at? So, I think that kind of covers it all pretty well. Now, I do remember there was talk, of course, at the beginning that apparently they may show this thing in the theaters, too, somewhere down the road.
Interesting.
I may, who knows? I may get a hair up my butt and decide to go see it in the theater if it happens, just for the fact to see it again on a big screen like that,
Right.
Why not?
And to see it without some of the, the live streaming glitches and cuts and stuff, that would be neat, yeah.
And I would imagine that they'll be able to fix it to where we'll see the entire beginning and all, as it was meant to be. And it'll be a nice little, something to hold you off until we get our real show in September, So if that happens or not, or if they put out the official, Blu-ray release, I'll do it that way too. Why not? So, let's see. So, if there was anything else you wanted to cover on that we might have missed?
I don't think so.
Well, let's get. We got a little input here from Chris. Let's see what he said. He thought the concert was embarrassing from Paul's turkey voice, raps between the songs, and COVID preaching, to Eric Singer looking like he was in a coma, to Gene taking a total of 5 steps the entire concert, to Paul licking his fingers. Missing the intro, changing the lyrics, and not spitting blood was beyond disappointing. Saw a post that they only sold 11,000 packages, which I'm assuming was way less than they anticipated. Great pyro show, at least.
Yeah, if that's true, if it was only 11,000 packages, that is like considerably less than they were hoping for.
Right.
If that's true.
Because I've heard that there was as many as 2 million people, because people are watching this different ways. Hey, if it was only 11,000 packages, that gives me a better chance to win one of those prizes that they're giving out.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
Javier, what's up, brother? Yeah, you're not too late, because we were having some issues on the YouTube side and had to come over here to Facebook and pretty much restart the show. So we were a little late getting started here on the Facebook side. So glad to see you, man. Hope you guys had a great Christmas and New Year. Yes, we did. Hope you did too, bro.
Absolutely.
Did you get any cool Kiss stuff? Let us know. Any of you guys. So give me a quick second. I'm going to run to the restroom, and then we'll jump into this album info, or if you want to just go ahead and start reading the album info, that's cool too. And I'll jump right back in.
Nice.
All righty.
All right. So you guys, I'm assuming you guys probably know we're doing Creatures this episode, which is definitely going to be interesting to see how this comes out. I don't know if you guys, I know Javier knows this, but we actually have gone through the Kiss discography doing it basically like this once before. This is the second time we've done all this. Last time we did the Creatures episode, this ended up being our highest overall average ranked album out of all of them, and by quite a bit. I think this ended up with like an average overall of 9.8 out of 10, and nothing ended up beating it. So I'm really excited today to see how that ends up turning out. How will it stack up to the last time we did this with more extra votes? what all that's going to happen. And I know a lot of people gave this a perfect 10 last time. And we've already gotten a couple of some of the ones that we're going to count in today have been perfect 10s again. So I'm really curious to see how this ends up turning out. So while we're waiting on Eli to come back, I'm curious, what do you guys think about the album cover of this? Not just generally, but the idea of Ace being on the cover, even though he didn't play on it, similar to Peter with Unmasked. You know what I mean? Is that something that they should have done? Do you guys think they should have figured out Ace's makeup, or Vinny's makeup, and put him on the cover, even though he wasn't an official member yet when this album came out? You know, why did they keep putting out incorrect faces? Were they hoping Ace was going to stay? Because it seems like every information I've read was that it was pretty early in the recording sessions that Ace had said, I'm leaving, I'm filling out the rest of my contract, and then I'm done. What do you guys think? Did they put him on the cover hoping he would change his mind? I'm kind of curious what everybody else's thoughts on that is. We've also got the first album produced by Michael James Jackson, which I think we can all agree was pretty awesome. This guy. Yeah.
What?
I was asking everybody what their thoughts are on Kiss repeatedly putting incorrect members on the covers.
Oh.
Should they have left Ace's face, even though they knew way before they made this cover that he wasn't going to be in the band anymore? Same thing with Peter.
They did it twice with this album.
Right, because then when they re-released it, they had Bruce on there, and he's not the one who played it either.
Javier said he bought some items for himself. I don't want to hear. I don't want to know, man. That's between you and.
Yeah, Javier, I agree. I think since Vinny, the only cover Vinny was on was Lick It Up, and he didn't have his makeup on, it would have been cool to have this one cover with that alternate makeup design.
Yeah,
other than just regular show promotion.
You know, it's kind of cool that we got some counterfeit versions that has that on there, you know, with Vinny in the makeup. But yeah, it would have been cool to be a honest, you know, a solid thing that they had done. And I wish it would have came with a poster too. That would have been so cool.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. I'm kind of curious now with Unmasked. To me, it made a little bit more sense because when that came out, they weren't sure until after a lot of that had been finalized that Peter was leaving, and so they were probably hoping that he would stay, that things would work out, and they'd get it figured out. This makes less sense to me because Ace said, "Hey guys, I am quitting the band as soon as my contract is up." Right when they started this album, that's why he's not on it even a little. It wasn't they didn't want him there. He said, I'm leaving, and once I've finished all the promotional appearances and stuff in the contract, I'm gone. They knew he was going to be gone. Why did they leave his face? Did they hope he was going to change his mind? Kind of curious.
I think so, and I will give Ace props that he was at least cool enough to, you know, fulfill some obligations, basically just out of a favor, from the way I understood it. You know, as far as being in the music video and performing on some of those foreign shows where they were doing some of the songs and, you know, different things like that. I mean, and even like the press conference that is out there now that someone had unearthed that's on YouTube, you know, he's a part of that. So, you know, the way I understood it, it was kind of done as a favor, but I think there was that kind of glimmer of hope that he was going to change his mind. And, you know, it might have been a hard decision because he was probably thinking that at the time, but then he probably already had his, you know, the gear in motion for Fraley's Comet or something like that, you know. Right. So he was probably, you know, ultimately just felt it'd be the best thing to do.
Right. And in that case, I wish if they were really thinking he was going to change his mind, he never would have been able to play any of those solos. I mean, just to be straight up, they are not even close to stylistically something he would do which was something with Bruce or Bob Kulick at least. It was similar enough style that Ace maybe could have done something like that.
Absolutely.
Not with the stuff that Vinny played or what Robin Ford did. None of that. And Javier saying he actually did break the contract. I didn't realize that.
Where's that? Oh, he broke the contract. You're talking about Ace or Vinny? Because I know Vinny technically never signed one, apparently.
Right.
Chris says Van Halen whitewashed Michael Anthony's face on some of the remastered albums after Wolfgang joined. Did they really? I didn't know that.
That's insane.
And then he also says Ace face they thought would sell more copies as opposed to someone.
Now that I could see.
Yeah, probably true. But
yeah, disappointing. But yeah, you're probably exactly right.
Yeah, we heard those stories about everyone being surprised though when they went to see the shows and they're like, "Who's this guy?" Because
yeah,
it wasn't like it is nowadays where news gets spread that quick.
Yeah, from the moment the idea pops into Ace's head, maybe I won't be in this band. Somehow there's articles all over the internet already.
Exactly.
Nowadays. Well, let's go ahead and jump into the album info. Creatures of the Night is the 10th studio album by the American rock band Kiss. This was released October 28th, 1982, somewhat appropriately, almost Halloween. This was recorded from July to September 1982 at the Record Plant Studios in Los Angeles. Produced, of course, by Michael James Jackson, and also Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons' names are listed there. Real quick, an aside, I just saw that Aaron Philpott just put a really big comment referring to this. He says, "This is a mouthful. I think they had to have Ace on the cover. To this day, anyone who was in the studio at the time recalls Ace bringing the studio for the sessions, but they can't remember exactly what he recorded. Anyone with a set of ears can tell Ace isn't on the album at all, guitars, backing vocals, or otherwise. It is my belief that the people who say they remember Ace being in the studio, this includes C.K. Lent and Michael James Jackson, are doing so because the record contract stipulated 3 original members must appear on the album. To this day, could perhaps be found in breach of their contract." Very interesting. Yeah.
The best
that
Kiss
does
album.
Make a lot of legal sense. Sorry,
Chris was saying the best Kiss album of the 80s. I tend to agree.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, it's definitely up there. So we had 3 singles here. I Love It Loud, Killer, and Creatures of the Night. Killer, why? Not War Machine? Okay.
Yeah, I know.
That's very strange. So there's a lot of really interesting info here on Wikipedia about all of this. Of course, there's a large portion talking about how their popularity had dipped really bad because of Dynasty Unmasked and The Elder. There's a section about Ace deciding to leave after The Elder. How Vinny's makeup was a last-second design by Paul. Where was the thing that I was actually looking for here? Yes. Some of you probably know this already, but when this was very first put out, some of the early pressings of the albums, one whole side of John Cougar's American Fool was accidentally on there instead of Creatures.
Are you kidding me?
No, that's pretty funny. Can't imagine that. They put on the new heavy Kiss album as John Cougar. Oh crap. This is the first Kiss album ever where every single lead vocal was either Paul or Gene, which is interesting. You don't really think about that.
Yeah, that is true.
Yep. Also, interestingly, the last album where they wore makeup, of course, we all know that. Apparently, according to this, people have always said that Bob Kulick played a bunch on this album, specifically the solo for Keep Me Coming and Danger. However, Bob admitted in a 2011 interview that none of the studio work he did on Creatures made it to the finished album.
Weird to know.
Yes, interestingly, also Jimmy Haslip, who was a member of Blackjack, said in a 2008 interview that he recorded bass for 5 of the songs on Creatures because Gene apparently refused to record his parts because it was right when he broke up with Diana Ross and he was so upset he couldn't record.
Oh.
But then the only track that Jimmy Haslip recorded that was left was Danger. All the other ones were eventually replaced either by Gene or by somebody else.
Well, didn't I Still Love You essentially come from Paul's breakup with, what was her name, Donna Dixon or something like that?
Yeah.
Boy, we got all kinds of heartbreak on such a heavy album.
Right. And then you can see how they deal with grief differently. Paul gets a breakup and writes this freaking amazing, dark, heavy ballad. Gene gets a breakup and refuses to play his bass.
That's funny.
Yeah.
We gotta give props to Bryan Adams while we're at it too.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's so weird to see his name there.
Freaking War Machine too, of all things.
You're right. War Machine and Rock and Roll Hell. Crazy. As far as personnel, we got quite a few names here. Of course, we got the band. Paul Stanley, vocals and rhythm guitar.
Oh, the band.
Gene,
they were a good group.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah,
Leon Helms on drums, and
turns out it was actually them on the whole album.
So that's how they got that drum sound. It was Leon Helm playing drums.
Yes. We had Gene Simmons, vocals, bass guitar, except Danger, Creatures of the Night, and I Still Love You.
Wait a minute.
Rhythm guitar on Killer and War Machine. Do what?
Before I get my head cut off, Levon, not Leon.
Oh, yeah. Whoops.
Sorry.
Whoops. Yes. Eric Carr, of course, did drums, percussion, backing vocals, and bass guitar on I Still Love You, which is super awesome. We have Vinnie Vincent, who played lead guitar on Saint and Sinner, Keep Me Coming, Danger, I Love It Loud, Killer, and War Machine. Robin Ford did the guitar solo on Rock and Roll Hell and I Still Love You. Steve Ferris played the guitar solo on Creatures of the Night. As previously mentioned, Jimmy Haslip played bass guitar on Danger. Perhaps the most interesting to me, Mike Porcaro, bass guitar on Creatures of the Night.
Really?
Yeah, the bassist for Toto played the bass on the title track.
Wow.
Adam Mitchell, who did additional guitar and the end lick on Creatures of the Night, which I assume is that bit. We also have Carrot Fay, who was one of the engineers, and Michael Japp and Bob
Carrot Fay.
What did I say? Yeah.
Carrot?
Carrot. It's Karat. Is it carrot or karat? I don't know.
I thought you said Karen, to be honest. I was just saying carrot because it sounded like carrot, but you really said carrot.
Yeah, I did, yeah. And then stupidly, because Wikipedia is stupid, they also have Bob Kulick down for playing overdubs, even though early in their article he specifically stated that he didn't.
Chris says Toto rules.
Yes, absolutely. Weird guilty pleasure of mine. This album did get up to 45 on the U.S. Billboard Pop Albums chart and has been certified gold. This has forever been one of the strangest, awesome Kiss albums to be largely overlooked by their fan base at that point because they turned so many people off with Dynasty Unmasked and The Elder that when this came out, a lot of people had already given up, which sucks because this is a great album.
Yeah. I'm sure people are kicking themselves and eating crow once they finally heard this album.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. I keep forgetting. I need to get the sound clip or the video clip. Every time you say a record goes gold, it's going to be the clip of Goldmember going, "It's gold."
Yeah. Yes.
I need to get that and use that from now on.
Well, we definitely are going to have a string of albums that didn't go platinum here coming up, so you're going to need to get that.
Well, let's see. Usually about this time we're finishing up the show. Now let's get into the album. All right. So let me just, of course, preface this by saying that this is, again, another case of just pretty much having to place numbers on the songs because I truly love the whole album. So it's it's almost unfair to have to rank one last and all that stuff, but it is what it
Yeah.
is. So of course we start off with the title track, "Creatures of the Night." This one comes in number 5 this time, and this is just I couldn't think of a much better way to start off this album to really show people that Kiss is back. Forget the so-called disco pop and then the weirdness at the time of the Elder. Here's Kiss. This is what you guys wanted. This is what we're all about. I mean, knocks you in the face. Yeah, I might tend to lean towards the live version a little bit. When I say live, I refer to the Alive 3 version. Um, I might lean towards that version a little more than this studio, but this studio track is still very solid and powerful. Um, Starting off with basically double bass, and never had that before on a Kiss album. So just a great beginning to the album, and I didn't get a chance to talk about Michael James Jackson because I was in the restroom, but super cool guy. We got to meet him a few years ago at the
Yeah.
expo, and he was such a nice guy. He was truly appreciative of all the feedback he was getting from Creatures. Like, he acted as if he was almost surprised, like he didn't realize how much people loved the album and sound. And I just got to give him credit right off the bat, because as soon as the album starts from beginning to end, bam, it's there. And just want to share that I had him sign my copy of Creatures, Michael James Jackson.
Yeah.
So very cool.
Yes. Do you remember the story he told about being on the Kiss cruise?
Not really. I don't recall now.
This was so cool to me and so strange, and from a producer's point of view, he was talking about how he had gone on the Kiss cruise earlier, I think that same year that we met him, and that how floored he was by the support for people and how much people talked up his production on Creatures. And he said he hadn't really listened to it for a long time. This is 20, 30 years after the fact here. And he said he was walking down the hallway on the boat one night, and War Machine came over the speakers, the overhead speakers on the boat. And he said that even then, he had to stop and just stand there and listen. And he's like, this tiny little crappy overhead speaker, and it just sounded great. The production was so good that even the stupid tiny little speaker, it sounded good. He blew himself away.
Wow. That is true, because one of them little Amazon Alexa things, and I've got one of those in the bathroom, and I'll have it play Kiss while I'm taking a shower or whatever. And every now and then when a song from Creatures, yeah, it sounds just as good on that little speaker. So
yeah,
it's amazing. Yeah, that. And since we're not doing Killers this time, wasn't he originally going to do, or no, was it Lick It Up that he was supposed to originally do it? Like at
oh,
first,
it's Animalize.
Animalize. Okay,
Yeah,
so
he produced the drum tracks, and then
yeah. So I'm sure we'll cover that more than once we get. I was thinking it was Killers, but I'm wrong.
yeah. Yep. So,
real quick,
sorry. Go ahead.
Just real quick, Javier saying he had given up on them by then, but then once he heard the first single, he was drawn back in. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you'd have to be at that point. You'd have like the aha finally moment,
I could only imagine, like, if I was able to experience that as it happened, and let's say, for example, that I was one of those people that got kind of disappointed with the last couple albums, and then as soon as that came on, I could just imagine the elation and almost like emotional feeling that I would probably have, like, yes, they're finally back, for real.
Yeah, absolutely. So the title track's number 2 for me, and yeah, this just couldn't have been more of a return to form for them. Just 100% exactly what they needed to do. The mix is great. Nothing more even needs to be said for the drum sound. It's just obvious at this point.
Yeah.
And this was the perfect song to lead off this album and just let every listener know immediately, in no uncertain terms, this is what you've been asking for. This is the kind of album this is going to be. You're welcome.
Yeah, everything that I had to say about the drum sound on Elder, forget it. This made up for every bit of it. It's like sticking a pacifier in my mouth. Like, here, shut up.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh, you
you.
wanted a good drum sound, did you? You wanted a good drum sound?
Like,
Here's your
thank
stupid
you.
good drum sound.
It tastes great.
Yes.
I'll suckle it a little bit. Next up, Saint and Sinner. This is my number 2. Um, God, I love this song. I always say, man, this is probably the most underrated Gene song in my opinion. Um, I love the little guitar intro, then the drums that come in, that little fill, and then when it just kicks into that beat, and Eric's kind of doing that little shuffle type thing on the hi hat, and the bass line's cool, and then Gene's vocals, the harmony on the vocals. I love the way he sings it. But to me, it's just a really perfect song, and I'm glad that they. Well, no, maybe they didn't finally perform it live. I was thinking they did, but they really should. But again, I feel like it truly is the most underrated Gene song in the entire catalog, and I don't know. Hopefully, others agree.
Yep, absolutely. This is my number 3. And my first note is basically the same thing. This is one of this album's big underrated tracks for me. I feel like I don't ever hear anybody talk about this one, and I love this song. Classic Gene. Uh, Unexpected but perfectly executed swing in the track. And for that, Eric Carr's drum part just makes this song.
Yes.
If it had been anything else, probably wouldn't have been as good. You know what I mean? It would have been cool, but not what it was. What he did was perfect. And this is also one of my favorite guitar solos on this album as well. It's not wildly complicated, but it fits perfectly.
It is a good one. It's very good. Just like again, perfect song. There's really nothing to nitpick about it, in my opinion.
Yep.
All right, so next is "Keep Me Coming." This one came in at number 7 this time. I felt like this, is kind of, again, after listening to it again, today, after how many hundreds of times I might have heard this song, I got to really thinking, like, this might be the most different sounding Paul song that I've heard, at least up to this point, because it just has that whole different feel. With the guitar that kicks in, it's almost like I can't, like, it's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't quite think of who it reminds me of, that sound. But then when Paul starts singing, it's like a different style. Like, he's not really singing with that kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, like the ladies man type sound that he typically had on all those songs, or or even kind of the aggressive. It's like almost a different register in a way, is what it sounds like to me. And that's what really caught me this time listening to it, is just how different it really does sound from all the other Paul songs that you've heard prior to this. And it's cool. If I had to nitpick a little thing, it might be like towards the end where he's repeating the right here, right now, all that stuff. Like, but it is what it is, and cool song.
Yeah. Number 9 for me this time on this one. I like this song generally. It has a really cool feel, and I'm glad they put it where they did, because it keeps the energy flowing from track to track, where there's still not a catch a breath moment. Jump in and it goes. The only reason this one is so low for me, and it usually is because it comes really close to triggering my "talk to me" complex, and it's because of the chorus. Pick some freaking different lyrics for the chorus occasionally. It doesn't annoy me anywhere near as bad as "Talk to Me." I don't dislike the song, but just occasionally, when we're getting near to the end, I'm like, okay, we get it. Keep me coming. Like, I gotcha. Gotcha.
Well, this ties into the next song, so I'll mention it here. Javier says that he thought it was a jab towards Ace when he heard the lyric about "without you, it's Ace's high." So obviously, we're talking about "Rock and Roll Hell," our next track here. This one's number 4 for me. Um, you know, when it comes down to it with this album, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the Paul songs are bad because his songs are good. And one of the songs, which I'll get into it more, but I feel like Gene really is the one that owns this album when it comes to the songs. You got that true, just that demon character is back, more evil than ever, on this album. But then you got songs like Rock and Roll Hell and Saint and Sinner where it's like you're kind of getting more of the more the harmony side of Gene. And I love, they took this song that was originally done by Bachman Turner Overdrive, rewrote it, and turned it into such a better song. And this is another one that I go to a lot on the album, and I just love it. And I'm glad this one, I know they did, in fact, finally play live on one of the cruises, which was
just fairly recently.
Yeah, super amazing to hear him pull it out. I was like, oh my God. But yeah, it's such a good song. And, just sitting here, like we're already on song 4 and I'm already getting the urge to put on the album again when we get done with this. Cause
right.
I just love it so much.
Yes. By the way, that lyric Javier pointed out to in Saint and Sinner.
You're right. I'm stupid.
Yeah, it's all good.
See, I get them mixed up from time to time because.
Yeah, I figured you were going for the Ace reference with Ace doing this song on Origins.
There you go. I wasn't thinking about that either.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool that Ace pulled that out.
Yeah. An interesting thing for him to cover a song on an album he was supposedly on. Rock and Roll Hell's number 7 for me. And yeah, just such a great song. That chorus is catchy. This is another song where the drums really catch me, and it's not the first time it's happened on this album, but it's the first time that I really started thinking about it on this listen through. This album starts what ends up becoming a really consistent thing for Eric Carr, a trick of his that he does, where he overdubs extra hi-hats in the songs to add more rhythmic elements. Part of in Saint and Sinner is like that. You can hear him playing just a regular straight beat, and then in the other speaker, there's extra hi-hats doing this. And that specific thing makes this song, Rock and Roll Hell, too. Because having the is not what he's playing on the actual drum track. It's an extra hi-hat. And it adds so much to this, the extra 16th note hi-hats throughout most of the songs. And you can tell that it's extra because it continues even when he's playing tom fills. Yeah. Almost the whole song has that. And a lot of the 80s albums he does that. And it's unusual. I feel like that's kind of a trademark Eric Carr thing that's really neat. You don't hear every other drummer doing.
A very signature thing, yeah.
Yeah. And then, the only other note I wrote for this is I feel like this one would be really good live. It sucks that it took them clear up to this cruise to do it. I wish it would have popped up throughout the 80s. Occasionally they'd do this song. That would be really cool.
I agree. I forgot to mention the fills. I love that blah, boom, 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 blah, dum, 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 boom, and then it just comes down it's so powerful.
Absolutely.
You can actually hear each tom. You can truly hear the tone of each tom that he's hitting, and it doesn't just sound like a bunch of jumbled stuff together.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have Danger, and this unfortunately had to be number 9 this time. It's cool, like I said, don't get me wrong, but it's just always been the one that I feel was a little less, less powerful compared to the rest of the album. And I like the up tempo on it. It's kind of got that kind of early stages of around that time of say like Judas Priest or something. Like it's kind of got that little bit of a feel as far as the tempo and the guitars and everything. And it's definitely a balls to the wall song. But yeah, unfortunately, it just had to come in at number 9 this time. Chris, it was Bachman Turner Overdrive that originally did Rock and Roll Hell, and then Kiss actually just rewrote it.
Yeah, it's not really a cover.
Yeah.
Excuse me. This song is and always has been my number 1.
Cool.
For this album. Yeah, I love the high energy. You can't hear the bass quite as well on this, which is weird. This is that one that Jimmy Haslett played, so maybe it had something to do with the tone of his bass or what he played. You can still hear it, just not quite as well as the others. But yeah, this is my personal number 1 underrated song from this album. I always go to this one. I'm really disappointed they never played it live. I feel like it could have been a decent show opener. Not that there aren't better openers in their catalog, but I think this song has the necessary components to be a really high energy, cool blast. They come out and it's this, and everybody's jumping around. Like, holy crap! Yeah. I love the vocals in this and the feel of it just generally.
Now that you say that, that could have been a really good show opener, like especially in the '80s era. Just
right.
Pyro goes off and they just run out on stage with all that energy they had at the time and just chugging away on that song. Yeah, that would have been a cool.
And what the song's about makes sense for that sort of a thing.
Yep.
Fires that endlessly burn, and they could have pyro going off.
All right, so next we have I Love It Loud. Number 6 for me. This is pretty much the song that everyone's going to reference when you talk about that drum sound that this album's known for. I mean, this is a perfect example that just never get tired of hearing that intro. It's just like hearing the intro to Rock and Roll Night or Detroit, whatever. It's like it's so signature. It's so simple, but yet so signature and so powerful. I mean, if it had been recorded the way Elder was, it would not be anywhere near as memorable as it is today. But
reference Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits for what it sounded like without that signature reverb. Yeah.
I had to bring that up. God awful. This is one of the early Kiss songs that I remember, really becoming a big fan of when I was younger. And again, Gene, I don't need to repeat it. He's just the perfect Gene on this song. Everything about the song is great. I, again, am going to boast about the music video. I did it last time we did this album. My favorite Kiss music video of all of them is I Love It Loud. Every time I watch it, just the way it looks, even to this day, it just still feels like it could rival videos that are made today. Just the picture quality of it, the colors, and the way they look, with those creatures costumes and the makeup. I'm so glad they did a video, especially in the creatures outfits like that. It just looks so good. Cool concept to the video, perfect in that, the height of MTV. I just never get tired of it. And it is what it is. It's another classic and a staple. So I never get tired of hearing it. Heard it again yesterday. They played it. Just as cool.
Speaking of that music video, you know what really ruined the concert yesterday for me?
What's that?
that Paul didn't do that somersault. I pointed it out at the time.
Or the fact that they always cut out the second half of the second verse, but they've been doing that since day one. So
right, and I never understood that. It's so weird. I'm tempted to say that I almost prefer this song live, except that I don't understand why they.
I don't know. Like sometimes the live renditions don't quite get me as much as the studio, and I think it's because of that drum sound.
Yeah,
but I mean, like it does translate well live compared to other songs, but I definitely do. I think prefer the studio over live though, but thankfully it does still come out well live, especially with the sing along and all that. But
Right,
um,
right.
very cool.
Even Alive 3, when the intro starts, it's like you know what song it is, but it doesn't have that same power.
Yeah,
And I like the drum sound on Alive 3. It's not the same, you
right.
know.
Because even when you watch them doing this in Rio on the Creatures tour, it's a little more sped up, of course, but yeah, it's got that energy and power to it. But again, it's just you're not getting that drum sound, unfortunately, and
Yeah, that elevator shaft really has something.
really gives you the
Yeah,
shaft.
the shaft exactly. Yeah, I this is a 6 for me as well. Um, I go up and down with this recording of this song, and it's not because I dislike it. It's because it's the one that I've heard the most because it's the hit. So I get a bit bored sometimes in the same way that sometimes when Shout It Out Loud comes on or Do You Love Me comes on, I'm like, this one, you know.
Hmm.
Um, I'm glad this one is still in their live sets because it's really a classic, and they ignore the '80s so much in their stuff. I'm glad, especially the end of the road set, this one and Lick It Up and Heaven's on Fire and Tears Are Falling. I'm so glad those are still in there. But this version of this song is the song on this album that suffers the most from my only complaint about this album's production, which I'm saving for my true confession. So we'll get back into that later. However, the fade out, fade back in, fade out, I think is one of the coolest things about this album overall. That's so, and the little bass thing, do 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 do. Love it
Oh yeah.
every time.
Every time the fade out happens and it comes back, it's like it really makes your ears think that it got louder than it was when you were listening to the song. But really, I mean, it's the same volume, but it
Yeah,
just to your ears, it just makes it sound like, whoa, it really did get louder. And I've always pictured myself like people, like I don't know if anyone did this like back when this came out, but like you're loving this song and you're wanting to crank it up. Well, then it starts fading out and you're like, I want to crank it because I want to hear it as loud as possible. And then all of a sudden, here it's coming back. You're not expecting it, and you're like, oh, you already got it blasted, and people are like, oh shit.
what's wrong with you?
Like, there had to be people out there that did that at some point.
Definitely.
Next is "I Still Love You," number 3 for me. I'm now pretty confident in saying that I feel like this is probably the best song Paul has done of all time. Um, so good. Um, every time they've done this, even on Unplugged, and I just love and even what Eric's doing. I just love the fills that he does on the chorus,
Yeah.
and he just adds that drama to it. It just really gives it that kind of that lot of feeling to it. Like you can like the way Paul's singing, Eric's drums are just like just as powerful right there behind him. It's crazy, and yeah, just a total great song. Um, the solo great, everything. So, but I think I finally decided that this is probably Paul's best song in my opinion of all time.
Yeah, the expression in his voice and the acrobatics he does without we're not talking about acrobatics in the same way as like My Way has vocal
Mm-hmm.
acrobatics or like the middle section of I Was Made for Loving You.
Right.
This is just straight up him singing, you know?
Yeah.
Insane. This is number 5 for me. And this one has climbed up the list for me pretty considerably over time. This one used to really annoy me, and again, it was because of the chorus being the title of the song over and over. Um, but man, it catches me so good recently. Just everything about the way Eric plays it, the tone of the clean guitars. It's thin, but it fits this exactly the way it should be. The bluesy guitar leads that are throughout the song are great. This is one I know we bring stuff up like this occasionally, and it kind of sparked it for me this time. Playing this one the first couple of times we got together with that Kissish project, super fun. That
Oh yeah,
cranked the song up the list even more for me.
absolutely. I really enjoy playing it too. Javier is not a fan of the unplugged version. He also says the riff was lifted from another song. He's trying to find it right now to tell us what that was. I'm not sure if I'm
Interesting.
familiar with that either. So,
I like the unplugged version, except the weird vocal acrobatics at the end. That thing is annoying, but other than that, I thought it was okay.
I just like that part where he really carries out that still, and then that
Yeah,
I still.
definitely.
All right, Killer. This is number 8 for me. I like this song. It's a fun Gene song. You know, the bitch is insane, all that stuff. Killer, run for your life. Will she bite? uh,
And
just
then drop
another,
me a line.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. Just another fun Gene song, and I feel like this one could kind of go back to back with Danger, like especially in that like you know fantasy live setting. Like let's say they opened up with Danger, and then all of a sudden Killer comes next. That I think that would have been a nice little 1-2 punch there to start. But yeah, just a really cool Gene song too, and I always enjoy this song knowing that it's coming up next.
Yeah. Uh, Number 8 for me as well. And I was prepared to put this one at the bottom of the list. This is one that I don't usually put on the same level as the rest of this album.
Mm-hmm.
But this listen through, it caught me. I don't know what was different this time. Um, I think when I saw that it was one of the singles from the album, immediately I was ready to tear it apart. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Why that song of all the stupid songs? And now I still stand behind it should have been War Machine. Every day of the week it should have been War Machine. But this is not a bad song at all. It's neat. It's upbeat Gene song. It evokes that demon feel again. Maybe not as well as War Machine does, but still it fits in perfectly with the demon mythos. And the song is catchy. It's got the elements for a hit. I'm kind of surprised it wasn't a little bigger than it was.
Yeah, true. I mean, I feel like anything off of this album could have been more successful had it been released, 10 years after or something like that. Once this album really started getting the kind of attention and love that it has now, especially.
Right.
All right, so we go to the last track already, and we get 2 Gene songs back to back to end the album. So we got War Machine, and this is my number 1. God, again, I just feel like there ain't much that needs to be said about it. It's such a heavy song, and that I've always been addicted to that riff, and every time I hear it, it just does not get old. And we were just talking about the concert yesterday. That was one of my favorite moments of the show was when they played War Machine with the fire, and and then of course Gene doing the fire at the end of the song now. But God, I mean, I don't know. It's just everything about it. Just like with I Love It Loud, Creatures, it's such a great song. Great way to end the album too. I mean, because
Yeah.
You would almost think this song maybe could have even opened the album to an extent. But I do like that it's the end of the album because I like the end. We get it, it's more of a proper ending to the album. The song ends, you get that weird kind of sound effect that lingers, and I kind of get a weird, like almost like a callback to a Destroyer vibe with that noise at the end of the album there after War Machine. It just kind of reminds me of that weird, like God of Thunder, King of the Nighttime World type, like the way the cover Destroyer looks, that atmosphere. It's almost like you can somehow go back and tie these 2 albums together by the way War Machine ends somehow. But yeah, I mean, again, like I said, not much needs to be said. It's one of the best Gene, just perfect, that attitude and demon and everything, you think Gene Simmons, this is one of the songs that comes to my mind right away when you think of Gene Simmons in that image.
Yep, yep. This is the one song. Actually, when I worked at Walmart, I had a boss that used to endlessly make fun of me for liking Kiss because they're posers and it's all about the image. They don't care about their music. But he always said, "But I do like War Machine."
Yeah, see, no matter how many people sit there and talk about how they don't like Kiss, there's always that. Well, that one song or two is kind of cool, but I don't really like them though.
It was the same way with Andy from Right Way to Nowhere. They're posers, and the image was stupid, and they didn't pay enough attention to their music. I do like Detroit Rock City though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was down there at Trader's World, and that guy that has that store outside with all that Kiss stuff and everything, he was like, "Oh, I'm not even a Kiss fan, really." And I'm like, "Yeah, right. Like, you got me fooled."
Yeah.
Nice joke there, buddy.
Yeah. You know that I've got some notes about the way this ends too, and it's kind of an interesting concept. I assume it's Vinny trying to feedback, like he's putting the guitar up to the amp of the album to get feedback, but he's taken the whammy bar and taken it down and just let the string kind of flop there and just held it there like that.
Ah,
is what's making that sound at the end. And then he's got the guitar up to the amp, which is why it feeds back just a little bit. But
it's a cool little touch, because they could have just had it in, like it does, like da da da, and then just sort of end almost abruptly with that little bass note. But it's cool if they at least added that little extra, because it kind of adds to the song and just the sort of the aura that you feel when you look at the cover of this. And like I said, even the callback to like Destroyer, and for my opinion. But
yeah, absolutely. This is number 4 for me. And man, I hate to sound like a broken record. I straight up cannot believe this wasn't a single. What were they thinking? This is just as good a song as I Love It Loud, I think, if not even more interesting.
Yeah, I totally agree. This could have been a single, and
could have been the lead single, and it would have been big, I think.
I mean, this could have been,
Jeez.
Had they have not even done an album, this was like the only song they put out. This would have been just as good too.
Yeah. It says something too that it's stayed pretty fairly consistently in their live sets throughout the years.
Yeah.
And again, they tend to ignore the 80s nowadays. As they've continued, they recognize that the fans want to hear the early stuff, but this has still stayed in the sets a lot. And this is another one. This is one of my favorites to play with Sweet Pain. The rhythm is fun to play. The solo is one of my favorite Vinny solos of all time. One of my favorites on this album. Fun to play. And just the end of the album.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad that the song just didn't fade out, because I feel like that's something they would have done. They would have just played that riff over and over and faded it out. And yeah, it's unexpected because it gives you that creepy little what the heck is going on? I love it.
Yeah, it's going back to that Rio show again in '83. That's probably my favorite live version of War Machine. I mean, again, you just talk about that energy, and Gene's freaking jumping on it, landing on his knees, and I mean, my God, it's just like it was like I remember when I would watch that, like, because that was on what Exposed originally. It was like the first time I saw it, I think, on that video. When I'm a young kid, and it was intimidating even back then to watch that footage, the way Gene was on that stage and everything. I mean, it was like, whoa, I wouldn't want to be in this guy's way. It was how it felt,
Yeah, that shot from behind him with all the people in front.
Oh my God, man, I would love to find like a big blown up poster of that or something. That would be so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Have it hanging. Javier did find that song he spoke of when it came to I Still Love You. Looks like it's Humble Pie. I Walk on Gilded Splinters live at Fillmore East. So I'll pull that up in a minute. He said 125 mark. Chris is disappointed that Marvel used the AC/DC song called War Machine instead of the Kiss song in Iron Man. AC/DC song is terrible. or maybe he means isn't terrible, but he assumes it's due to royalty fees. Heard AC/DC fee is a lot less.
That wouldn't
That
surprise me. Yeah.
probably, but they didn't some. There was a movie that they used. I want to say it was "I Love It Loud."
You
Like,
just here recently?
yeah, I want to say they either used it. I know, like it was used in the trailer. I don't remember if it was actually used in the
Yeah.
movie.
Because they played that trailer like freaking 7 times at the show we went to.
Yeah, so that was kind of surprising to hear that. Oh, you went to Steak and Shake?
Jersey was closed.
All right,
It
thanks.
has track locations.
Thanks. What is this?
Snickers?
Okay. Got a milkshake. So
Yeah, I kind of thought the same thing, though. You know, they used Black Sabbath's Iron Man for Iron Man, and that was super cool. It's like, oh man, it's perfect opportunity.
yeah, they totally dropped the ball on that one.
Yeah, straight up.
Huh.
Played a little on a different rhythm, but definitely the same notes. Yeah.
That's pretty cool find, Javier. Appreciate that. I like Humble Pie. I believe that song, I Walk on Gilded Splinters, might be a cover in itself because I know there's another artist that did a song with that title, if it's the same version. Very cool. All right, so we'll do our overall ranks here and then get into the true confessions and all that. So obviously for me, this is no different from the first time. And this time, this really is going to be the only one that gets this ranking. Last time, I said that, I had in mind that there was only going to be one, and I ended up giving Alive a perfect 10 as well. But this is definitely a perfect 10 for me. It really is. It has truly become my favorite Kiss album now. It was always Destroyer for a long time, Love Gun, which I, again, still love those albums. Don't get me wrong. I love so many of their albums. So many of the albums I love from beginning to the end. Basically everything from the 70s especially, and, well, obviously up through the early 80s because this is, 82. So, yeah, but this one just, and I think a lot of it is that redeeming factor of, this is what the people were wanting after Love Gun to continue, not with what happened with the solo albums and whatever. And again, not saying that there's bad stuff on those albums because here we are all these years later, yeah, we do love a lot of that stuff just as much. But, I understand the feeling that people would have had back then. And again, in the early stages of, my life when there was a time that I'd only listen to, a song or two off of those certain albums because I just wasn't drawn to them as much at the time, I guess. But Creatures has been that one album that always would catch me, and songs like I Love It Loud and War Machine and all that. I Still Love You. Just so a lot of that has a lot to do with it. I mean, I've always been a huge fan of the album cover. I mean, I love the color blue in general, so that's another reason that this album cover always caught my attention. I just always love that look and kind of the mysterious look of it, and then nothing but the lightning bolts and stuff on the background, which kind of reminds me of what was behind Gene during God of Thunder. Now, yesterday when I looked at that, but just little things like that are what has always drawn me to this album too, and I don't know. It was the perfect time and for the perfect album and the perfect producer. Michael James Jackson deserves, I believe, just as much credit, if not more credit, than Bob Ezrin or God, I'm forgetting the guy's name now, like an idiot.
Eddie Kramer.
Eddie Kramer. But I feel like Michael James deserves just as much, if not more, for what he did with this album and helping Kiss, get their career back on track. So, once again, perfect 10 for me. And, I don't think it's ever going to stop being my favorite album at this point because nothing's going to top it.
Until they come out with a new album and somehow it's...
Yeah, because, every album is supposed to be like Destroyer or Revenge.
Sure, yeah.
And then they put out stuff like Samurai Son.
Ugh, yeah. Yeah, I still haven't scheduled the chemo treatments from hearing that.
Yeah, Chris, you're right. The Rob Zombie Halloween movie has got a thunder. The first one.
Nice. So I went with 9 this time, and holy crap, what a comeback this was. Basically just like you said, we say this all the time. We don't dislike any of the Kiss albums. Not a single one. Not the Peter Criss album, not the Gene album. Every single one of them, there are enough aspects to put it above other stuff that a lot of people like. For us personally, I like Dynasty Unmasked and The Elder, but it's clear that this album is Kiss getting back to what they're best at.
Mm-hmm.
They did that other stuff really well, but this was so clearly what everybody wanted. The stars aligned for this album to come out as good as it did on all fronts. Having Michael James Jackson producing was clearly as good a choice as they could have possibly made, which is weird because he didn't come from a rock producing background. And I remember him talking about that at the Expo too, that he was nervous when they got a hold of him to produce the 4 new ones on Killers because he had never really worked with a rock band like this, and they were looking specifically to get back to their rock roots.
Yeah, could you imagine?
What a happy.
Could you imagine the kind of stress that was on his shoulders, knowing that these guys are probably looking at him like, "Look, you got to save us."
Yeah, and he did.
And he's like, "Okay, I'll do what I can."
Yeah. This album's sound has become, at least in retrospect, I think one of the most talked about productions of any Kiss album of all time.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask generally every Kiss fan, what do you think is the best produced Kiss album? I think most of them would say Creatures. Now, a lot of them are going to have their own personal, well, I like this and this and this because of this and this. Yeah, of course. Yeah. I guess maybe it would be better for me to say, what is the most distinguished drum sound of any Kiss album? Everybody is going to say Creatures. Everybody. Mm-hmm. All of the songs are good. Even the couple that I usually put at the bottom of the list don't have any questionable parts or sections, really. Like I said, I complained about the choruses of Keep Me Coming. I still listen to the song all the time. It's not that big a deal. Eric Carr finally gets a chance to shine after having to take that huge back seat for The Elder. The drums not only sound great, but no studio musicians were called in to replace anything. It's all him. All the songs are played masterfully. I do kind of wish they had put an Eric lead vocal on here. Seeing that this is the first one with only Gene and Paul made me think that. Like you've complained about in the past, there's only 9 tracks on this.
Yes.
I don't even want Eric to sing one of the existing songs. Put a 10th track on there and give it to Eric. That would have been so cool.
Right.
Vinny provides a different feel to the leads. He contributes. I think this album's a good introduction to what he would end up bringing more fully on Lick It Up without going overboard, as we know he was prone to doing. Although I admit I wish they had given him just a hair more room to fly. I feel like this album has less memorable lead guitar moments as compared to any Ace or Bruce album. There's still stuff I like, but it's not quite as standout as, oh man, that is an amazing solo from Vinny. So, overall, if we discount greatest hits compilations, I think this is the album I would 100% point a Kiss virgin to listen to first.
Oh, absolutely.
Personally. It has remained one of my overall favorites for most of the time I've been a Kiss fan.
But not their virgin soul.
Exactly. Maybe their sacred gold.
There you go.
Definitely not their virgin soul.
Again, talking about the drum sound, that right there, like, influenced so many drummers immediately. Like, you had everybody that was big in the game at that time. Tommy Lee and Frankie Manali, and the list goes on of guys that tried to match that drum sound and could not do it. Tommy Lee would even use large size kick drums to try to achieve that sound even live and couldn't do it. And I look at even a guy that is one of my absolute favorites too, Alex Van Halen. He may have been doing some of that kind of overdub stuff here and there, maybe before this or ever, but it wasn't until Hot for Teacher with the kind of overdubbing, which is similar to what Eric was doing, is what became Alex's probably most known drum piece too, is doing all that kind of extra overdubbing and creating that intro for Hot for Teacher and all that. And I feel like that had to be a bit inspired by what Eric did on Creatures, with doing those overdubs and stuff. And yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, it's time for some true confessions. You guys that are in the chat still, let's hear some from you as well. So we'll be right back at you with that. All right. True confession time. So with mine, you kind of hinted at them a little bit when you were talking earlier, but I'll try to extend more. So like you said, we only have 9 tracks on this album. I wish we had more. I wish, it's kind of like Go Figure. My favorite album, it's so great, but then we only get 9 tracks, so it feels like it goes by so quick listening to it. I wish this album would have had as many tracks as we got, say, on even Unmasked, or later down the road, Hot in the Shade, even. Like, that would have been amazing to have that many songs. And then I also agree that I wish Eric had a vocal on this album as well. It's a shame that they waited all the way until Hot in the Shade to finally give him a vocal. I totally think that would have made this album, giving him a song on here. And, who knows? Maybe if it would have been something like Little Caesar or whatever, he might have had something else floating around at the time that would have worked out just as well. Or, you know what? For that matter, they could even put, just the drum solo thing on this album even would have still been just as monstrous, because it would have had that Creatures drum sound on top of it. I think that would have, definitely helped. I don't want to say it would help strengthen the album, because again, it's such a strong album in general to me anyway. But I feel like it would really just fill it out just a little bit more, just to throw that 10th track in. It's like, something about 9 tracks over 10 just annoys me. But
you're right.
Total shame that it's that the tour was such a failure. I mean, here we are all these years later, and every time we talk about Creatures, and it's almost mind-boggling now to think that a tour for such a great album, and the energy the band had, the look of the band, did so miserably. And we look at it now, and you would think it would be like the biggest tour they would ever had.
Yeah.
And then, the fact that they played on that tour here in Dayton, and I wish that I was old enough at the time to have been able to go to that show. That would have just been, amazing. Excuse me. So it's like, it still like just trips me out whenever I drive by that arena, and I just like, I don't care what has happened at that arena through all these years. All I ever think about is Kiss played in that place for the Creature Store. Like, Eric Carr and them were probably driving on this same part of the highway coming into the show that I'm driving on. You know, stuff like that, like weird minutia type geeky thoughts that I get about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I wish I was old enough to have been able to attend that show. So it's, you know, all these years later, and as long as Eric's been gone now, it's almost become sort of a, you know, almost like almost like a true legendary type of tale. Like when you hear that somebody saw Eric in concert, it's like, whoa, really? Like, you know, what was it like? You know, what was the atmosphere? You know, and I get that same, you know, you get that feeling when you hear someone talk about seeing the Beatles in person or Hendrix, or for me, like Dwayne Allman. It's like, whoa, like, you know, now it's like I kind of get that same feeling about Eric, and it would have been so cool to see him in person. So, but that's the way it goes. So that is my confessions.
Indeed. All right. I know this guy can't seriously be about to bash the Creatures of the Night production.
Who?
Look, the drums sound amazing. Personal best drum sound on a Kiss album up to 1982, I think. Now, I'll say I feel like they kind of refined this huge bombastic sound to sit a little bit better with the other elements of the mix throughout the 80s. I'm glad this album sounds the way it does with those drums. You can hear the bass really clearly on almost every track. The vocals have the perfect amount of reverb. They sit right where they should. The lead guitars sound super cool all throughout, right where they should sit. But I really, really wish the rhythm guitars were heavier. Not just louder, I mean heavier. They sound like they don't have enough gain in them. For such a hard rock heavy album, the rhythm guitars take a back seat a little too often on these songs, I think. And they don't give the power that the rest of the mix implies.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought this up on I Love It Loud because it's got the biggest thing for me, I think. On I Love It Loud, I feel like those rhythm guitars should just be pounding me, just like the drums do. And they don't. They feel lackluster. They come in and you're like, oh, also there's guitars. And I think that's part of the reason why I like live versions of that song, because they come in and they pound and it's loud. That's what the song's about. And the whole album has that feel a little bit. Now, it's not enough to ruin it or anywhere near, but if I could change one thing that I think would improve the album even more, I'd push them a little bit louder up in the mix and give them more gain, give them more bite, smack, make them sound mean.
I don't think they did any kind of remixing on the 2014s, did they?
No, not really. Now on that 1985 thing where they remixed the song "Creatures of the Night," they still sounded that same. They changed little bits about other elements, but the guitar still sounded pretty much the same.
We'll have to contact Michael James Jackson and ask him to do a remix.
Yeah, there you go. Do a modern 2021 remix.
Chris's true confession is if Michael James Jackson had produced Higher Than Hell, it would be the best album in history.
I'd love to hear that. That would be super cool.
Yeah, I still wish there was a way to somehow completely remaster that one too, but from the stories that I believe I've heard, if I'm not mistaken, that pretty much that version of the album doesn't exist. All they have is the actual tape of what the final part. Yeah, yeah. The master. Yeah, they don't have all the individual tracks anymore.
Dang it.
Excuse me. Chris also ranks the album at 8.5. Javier's true confession is "Lick It Up" is a better and heavier album. Lick It Up's cool. It's up there, but I still give this one the edge.
Yeah, I think just me personally, I think the songs on Creatures are generally better, but the things that I just complained about, the guitars, the way the guitars sit, I think Lick It Up fixes that. Yeah. I think it's still got that huge Creatures drum sound without it being the most prevalent thing in the mix, and the guitars are able to take up a little bit more.
Yeah, because I'm glad they didn't do the same, low end kick drum for every album that came after this. It makes it that much better that it's only for this album. But Eric's drums still sound great
Yeah.
on every album that follows, thankfully. Chris's top 3 songs. Okay. Number 3, War Machine. Number 2, Saint and Sinner, and then Creatures of the Night. Javier said he wishes he was able to see the tour, but he was lucky enough to get a tour book. Very cool. I would like to get one of those. And again, another thing about that tour that tends to get forgotten, that was the 10th anniversary tour of the band. So again, you would have thought that would have been a pretty successful special tour, being the 10th anniversary of the band at the time, and unfortunately it wasn't. So hey, Rob, what's up? He says Happy New Year. Bob Kulick is on Danger.
According to Wikipedia, apparently Bob said in an interview in 2011 that nothing he recorded for Creatures made it to the actual album for some reason. I haven't heard that interview. I'm curious about it.
He also says he likes the original 82 mix. The drums are too loud on the remastered version, he feels. And then Rob also says Lick It Up is the perfect mix. Yeah, I'd say mix-wise, Lick It Up might have the edge over this one, but as far as
I would say I definitely agree, but I'm also kind of glad Creatures doesn't sound like Lick It Up.
Right.
I'm glad Creatures sounds the way it does, but I do personally prefer the way Lick It Up is balanced.
I'm glad Creatures doesn't sound the way it does on the song that they did on Smashes, the way they redid that.
Oh.
If they had done that to the whole album, yeah, that would have been horrible.
And I honestly bet you that most of what they did was just mute that elevator shaft reverb. I think honestly that's all that is. I think that's how the drums sounded when they tracked them.
Yeah, it really does. That's all it sounds like. But
insane. Yeah, that would have ruined the whole thing. I don't think most people would say this album freaking sucks if they had left it like that.
Because I mean, to be honest, I don't know the last time I've listened to that reissued version, the one that has Bruce on the cover. Let alone that the songs are in a different sequence too for some reason.
Right.
But like you were saying too earlier, I do agree that Creatures, in my opinion, is better overall song wise than Lick It Up. But I think Lick It Up probably does get a bit of the nod though as far as the mix when I think about it. But we'll get to hear it again next week and really be able to truly compare them again with fresh listens. Rob says that Bob was interviewed on the Metal Voice and that he said he was on Danger. How recent of an interview was that, man? Because I mean, if it was fairly recent, with some of that, I'm not trying to knock Bob, but some of that stuff he started saying there towards the end, it makes you wonder,
right.
What's true or not, or something.
Well, that and I'm not necessarily inclined to believe Wikipedia on most things, but since it said that it was Bob himself that said that's what made me think it was probably true.
Well, like Chris just said, Wiki is never wrong. Just ask.
Right? Yeah. Sure. Yeah, that's again. I wish we had some of the multi-tracks from this album to be able to determine some of that stuff. Who played what, where, how much outtakes of other people trying stuff did they not use? You know what I mean? It would have been really interesting to see that.
Yeah, speaking of I don't even has any footage even came out from that big thing that they did a couple weeks ago with the 2-day thing with all the different Kiss stuff.
I don't think so. Not at least not that I've seen.
Because I remember they were saying that Rick Derringer was supposed to come out and play Exciter with those guys, stuff like that. And it's like I haven't seen like any video clips pop up from any of that.
Yeah, that is weird. Excuse me.
Now that I think about it.
I'm going to search Rick Derringer Exciter just because I'm curious.
Yeah.
No. Nope. Weird. There's a demo.
Javier says it's on YouTube.
I must have just searched the wrong thing.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Javier, if you happen to know the link or something, if you could send it over or something, please.
Yeah. Yeah, see, now I do know about that, Chris, because this was around the time Eddie was trying to convince Gene to let him be the one to replace Ace. And Gene resisted it because he was already known. They didn't want somebody who was already known because they were still doing the makeup thing.
I think that was truly the best move, though.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine Eddie being a Kiss, and as much
No.
as that would have been kind of cool at the same time, but I'm glad Van Halen went on to be what they did, and
Mm-hmm.
what all they put out in the years to come. And because I mean, I've always loved Van Halen almost pretty much as Kiss. I mean, I've always been a huge Van Halen fan growing up, and still am. So, but yeah, definitely would have been weird to see Eddie as a member of Kiss and wearing makeup and everything.
Yeah, that would have been super weird. I don't feel like they weren't that experimental guitar band either, which was like Eddie's whole thing. He was taking the guitar beyond what other people did with it, and that's really not what Kiss was about, you know?
Right. Imagine like if he painted his face like the way his Frankenstrat looked or something.
That would have been funny. All right, well, I got our rankings up and ready.
All righty.
Let me delete this up. Yeah, I can't picture that at all. We got to turn the microphone over to Eddie Van Halen. All right. So, in addition to the two of our rankings, we are including a lot more. Again, we don't have Savannah's. She was entertaining some guests today while I was doing all of this, so she didn't get to listen. We've got Steve McGowan's votes. He did give this album a perfect 10. His top three were Danger, War Machine, and Creatures of the Night. We've got Rochelle McGowan's votes. She gave this a 9, and her top three were War Machine, Creatures of the Night, and I Still Love You. We've got my votes from last time we did this. I gave it a perfect 10, and my top three were Creatures of the Night, Saint and Sinner, and Danger. Eli's from last time, you gave this a perfect 10, and your top three were Saint and Sinner, I Love It Loud, and War Machine.
Boy, that changed.
Yeah, right. My dad's votes from last time, 8.5 out of 10, and his top three were I Still Love You, I Love It Loud, and Creatures of the Night. We got Steve McGowan's votes from last time. He again gave it perfect 10. His top three were War Machine, Creatures of the Night, and I Love It Loud. We got Jay Rucker, who gave this a perfect 10. His top three were Rock and Roll Hell, Creatures of the Night, and War Machine. We got Robbie Stars from last time we did this. He gave it a 9 out of 10. His top three, Saint and Sinner, Creatures of the Night, and Danger. We've actually got my younger brother Sam's votes from the original Crazy Crazy Kiss Countdown. No overall ranking because we didn't do that at that time. His top three, however, were Killer, Creatures of the Night, and War Machine. Interestingly, we've also got Savannah's votes from that original. Her top three, War Machine, Saint and Sinner, and Creatures. We've got my younger sister Majenica's votes from that original. Her top three were War Machine, I Love It Loud, and Creatures. We've also got Chuck McFarland, who gave this a 9 out of 10. Our old-time troll Guitar Man gave this a 10 out of 10. Haven't heard from Guitar Man for a while. Where you at, man? We've got Jay Rucker's dad, who gave this a perfect 10. His top three were Creatures of the Night, Saint and Sinner, and War Machine. Jay's niece gave it a 10. Jay's uncle gave it a 10. Jay's brother gave it a 10. Jacob Hicks gave it a perfect 10. Gianni Ottaviani gave it a perfect 10. We've got Thomas Rain in Adamstown from last time we did this episode, gave this a perfect 10. His top three were I Love It Loud, Creatures of the Night, and War Machine. We did count Chris's 8.5. Anybody else that's put anything in? Nope. Okay. So we're going with that then. Put all that together, and we end up with 9.7 average
Nice.
overall. Yes, putting this album heads and shoulders over everything else we've done up to this point in the average overall. More than a point. No, okay. Almost more than a point more than anything else. That makes it top both the debut album and Alive 1, which were tied for the lead with 8.9.
Wow.
Yes. So in dead last for this week, in 9th place, Keep Me Coming. In 8th place, Killer. In 7th place, Rock and Roll Hell. In 6th place, Saint and Sinner. In 5th place, Danger. And our top 4 for this album this time: in 4th place, I Still Love You. In 3rd place, I Love It Loud. In 2nd place, War Machine. And in 1st place, Creatures of the Night.
Very cool. Very fitting.
Yep.
Let's see. Yeah, Javier, I looked that up on YouTube, what you said, Kiss Masquerade. I'll dig in deeper once we're done and try to find that. Chris said that Creatures buries Revenge. Just saying.
Ooh, ouch. I don't know. I could go back and forth on that, honestly. Yeah.
Javier says Revenge is overrated with a lot of garbage on
Ouch.
it.
I've always liked that album. I don't know. I'm probably wrong.
Well, Chris and Javier, let me ask you this, or even Luke, what's better, Lick It Up or Revenge?
I would go with Revenge, personally. I like a lot of the songs. Revenge, to me, is a lot like Creatures in that it's such a return to form.
Yeah, they finally found their look and style in the non-makeup era that truly fit them.
Right. Now, I think I would be more likely to put in Animalize or Asylum, I think, than Revenge. But, we get the Crazy Nights being a bit questionable, and then Hot in the Shade being a bit questionable, just like Unmasked and The Elder. And then suddenly the big one after that, where everything kind of comes back into place.
Yeah, a lot of people crap on Hot in the Shade, and I think it's a good album. I think there's a lot of good stuff on there.
Yeah, there's a couple on there that I don't particularly care for, like oh my god, I just lost the song title as soon as I started talking. You Love Me to Hate You, I think, is a bit weird, but for the most part, I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I get annoyed that there are drum machines instead of Eric Carr on there, but the songs are still good,
True. And imagine if we had gotten Sword and Stone and Time Traveler.
Oh my god, that would have been amazing. I would take either of those over My Way any day.
Javier
or even Reason to Live sometimes.
Javier and Chris both picked Lick It Up, by the way. Excuse me. Well, I think that finally wraps it up then. This is probably the latest we've gone in a long time.
Yeah.
Thanks to Be Live and their YouTube issues. But again, I will take this episode and upload it to the YouTube channel, so it'll be on there for people that prefer to watch on YouTube, so you guys will be able to catch it. And Javier, I don't think Javier gave us any input on the concert, did he?
I don't think so.
What did you think, Javier? Did you watch it, or what were your initial thoughts, if you did, or if you saw any clips or whatnot? He says Revenge is only better than Carnival of Souls when it comes to the non-makeup era.
I've always liked Carnival of Souls too, so I mean...
Yeah. It gets tough, because, I mean, they're all solid albums.
Right, and Carnival of Souls is different. I feel like it's unfair to put Carnival up against Revenge because they're just stylistically not the same. It's like trying to compare Unmasked to Love Gun. They're it's the same band, I guess, but stylistically so different.
Right.
They're both good for different reasons. Carnival is heavy, but it's not heavy in the same way that Creatures is heavy, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It is interesting. I mean, again, once we get down to that album down the road, we'll probably discuss it more. But it's always kind of interesting to know, like, what would have come next after Carnival if they had stayed in that direction and with that lineup.
Right.
But at least Bruce keeps those songs alive, at least nowadays.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
performs them. And,
I would have paid $50 for a live stream concert of the Bruce Kulick Band.
Yeah.
Honestly, I
Hell,
would have paid more than $50.
I was gonna buy that Kiss Masquerade thing when Bruce and Todd Kearns did that live acoustic thing from Bruce's house.
Yeah,
That was part of it. That was one of the main things I wanted to get it for. But
definitely.
Javier didn't see it, saw clips. He'll still buy the Blu-ray. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally, man. All right. Well, that wraps it up. Again, sorry for running later than we usually do tonight, but thankfully we got the show through and made it in, or made it through the show, got it in. Jesus,
Yeah.
dyslexia kicking in. Been around my wife too much.
There you go. Hey, get in the group and definitely vote on our second chance round. I just peeked in to see how it was doing. If any of you guys haven't, and Million to 100,000 Years of Strutter are all tied. We can't have that. Somebody get in there and put some more votes in there.
Very cool. Bruce Kulick, hit on your wife. Oh, geez. Well, that's all right because Gene was hitting on my wife when we met him. Here I am, the lifelong fan that never thought I'd ever meet, especially Gene or Paul, and then he's sitting there paying more attention to my life, and I'm sitting over here kind of like, hey, dude, I'm the diehard.
She's only here because I'm here.
I feel stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, Bruce was always really nice. We met him at several expos, even when kids used to go play at the expos, and Bruce was always super nice.
He is. And I was going through a few of the pictures the other day, and there was the one a couple years back where he was actually sick at the expo, and he was still sitting there signing autographs, taking pictures. I mean, I know he was feeling like crap, but appreciated that he, pulled through and still did what he agreed to do. Man, he was there for the people.
Yeah. One of my favorite moments, one of those times kids actually played at the expo, they were sitting and eating some McDonald's. One of the parents had gone out and gotten a McDonald's and brought it back to the expo. And they were sitting in the main room on the floor in a circle right by one of the doors eating McDonald's. And it just so happened that Bruce walked through that door into that room. And they had already announced him. He had already done his thing. I think he had just gone to the bathroom and come back or something. And Majenica was sitting right next to the door, and he walked right past her, and she looked up and saw him and went, "Hey, Bruce, you want a fry?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, thanks." And he took a handful of fries. That was awesome.
And then the next time I saw him, he was sick. So thanks a lot, Majenica.
Yeah, way to go. Jeez.
If there's an indie expo this year, I might try to. You really should, Javier.
That'd be cool.
I've always said, like, as someone that isn't able to ever do the cruises, I feel like the expo has a family type of atmosphere too, just as much. You meet people that come from all over. You start talking to total strangers because you're all sharing that same love of Kiss, and it's so easy to just start talking to total strangers. I mean, hell, you might have missed it, but we had a guy that left a comment earlier in the show that was someone that I sat and talked to at one of the recent expos, and it's such a cool cool vibe there. It's one thing to, yeah, they might have a member of Kiss or whatever related musicians or whoever's there, and then the vendors, but that's like one thing in itself. But to me, it's like almost more exciting about just that family vibe and meeting people and talking to people, and it's really cool. I truly hope that they bring the expo back this year, and I'm definitely hoping on it. So, but yeah, it'd be awesome if you can make it up, Javier. It'd be awesome. We can all meet in person and
Yeah.
have a big hangout and all that stuff. So it'd be cool, man. Hoping to hear about it. All right, well, I think we'll wrap it up then this time, and so next week we get into Lick It Up. We're out of the makeup era once again, so get those votes in and your rankings for Lick It Up, and then like Luke said, please get over and vote on the second chance song or last chance song at this point. And again, please keep spreading the word. We set a little goal of how many likes we'd like to try to get by the end of the year for each of our pages on Facebook, and then even YouTube as well with subscribers. So, please keep spreading the word. We appreciate all the support, and thank you guys as always. So we're gonna get out of here, and we'll see you next week for Lick It Up. Everyone, be safe, be good. Hopefully, y'all have gotten your stimulus money, and you go out and stimulate the economy and buy a bunch of Kiss stuff with it. So show us what goodies you buy. So until next week, then, y'all be good. We'll see you for Lick It Up.